Begin transmission. Hello, everybody. It is Chris, Milton, and Ben for Outer Rim Transmission. This is episode 151. We have an avalanche of stories to get through tonight. We have all the news that came out of basically what I call Star Wars week. It's spilling out of May the 4th. We have stuff coming out beforehand, afterhand, during. There's so much stuff to talk about, including the Bad Batch finale, including reactions to Tales of the Empire, including things like celebration tickets going online and game trailers and release dates. It's like my mind is frazzled. My mind is frazzled. There's so much to get through. So we are starting right on time, everybody, because we have a lot to get through. But anyway, I'm going to throw things around the room here, or throw it around the room here, so to speak, about how was our May the 4th? So I'll throw it over to Milton, man. Did you do anything out of the ordinary yesterday? I know all of us Star Wars fans, including the viewers here, like we think about at least Star Wars every day at the very least. So anything different for you than normal?
Honestly, no. Yesterday was honestly spending time with actually my girlfriend's parents. They came up to visit, so I was entertaining them most of the day, well, in the afternoon. So that was pretty much my Saturday and just getting stuff done. So actually, a lot of my Star Wars came from today, watching Details of the Empire. Watching that when I
Nice.
got home from the gym. So I did that, and then I watched the Bad Batch finale Friday night. So yeah, that was pretty much my Star Wars this week. Nothing on Saturday, unfortunately.
Yeah, hey, you know what? You know what today is? Revenge of the 5th. So in my book, that still counts. You know, Star Wars Day, it can come and go, but then we have that one extra day there. But yeah, man, I mean, it's a new series to watch. How can you complain about that? A finale of a show. There's just so much going on. I'm gonna throw it over to you, Ben. What'd you do on your day for Star Wars Day?
Yeah, for me, Star Wars Day was a really fun time this year. Of course, we had Tales of the Empire. Unfortunately, we were the only ones that had to wait until Saturday to watch it. But Tales of the Empire was really good. Of course, just other normal Star Wars things like checking out people's reactions on YouTube. It's always fun just seeing like what the community's up to. And then even on more of like a basic sense, one thing I do every year for May 4th, I always watch A New Hope just because that's where everything started. And watching A New Hope yesterday, it just every time you watch that movie, I feel like it just gets better and better just because the quality, the story, you can literally watch it as a one-off movie really, and it would be fine. And then just like all the acting, the action sequences, I always go back to like Alec Guinness's performance. I think it's just like S tier, like arguably the best performance in Star Wars still, because like his whole scene with Luke, discussing like the Clone Wars and the past and all that stuff when they're in Obi-Wan's hut, like that whole sequence I think is just like top tier Star Wars material, like period. So yeah, I always make an effort to try to watch A New Hope every year, or at least have it on. So yeah, my May the 4th was really good this year, and of course, looking forward to talking about all this big news tonight with you guys. Just because, I mean, yesterday it felt like every time I got on Twitter, it was just like refresh, boom. I would be like sending news in our group chat, like, all right, here's another thing to add to the list for tomorrow. Boom, here's another thing to add to the list for tomorrow, and it just felt like it kept going and going and going. So yeah, really looking forward to tonight's episode to really get into all these big topics.
Oh yeah, so I was working as I do on Saturday, and I work at a gym, so we have many different channels on many different flat screen TVs, like 20 something TVs in that gym where I'm working. And more times we have Star Wars on a regular Saturday playing. Like it always on FX. Like we always have Star Wars on FX. So this time we had two channels, like several TVs playing between TNT and FX. So at one point, it's like they're playing Force Awakens. I walk on the other side. Oh, they're playing A New Hope, and then it's like, oh, they're playing Return of the Jedi. Oh, they're doing this. And I had a really long day at work yesterday. A lot of people training, and I started. It was like A New Hope early in the morning, and then it was like the afternoon, and it just finished Return of the Jedi. And these are all with commercials and everything on. I'm like, yeah, I've been working so long that I've worked through the entire original trilogy here, and I did to Force Awakens by the time I'm done my workout. So it was kind of a funny like time stamp on my days. Like I'd be training people, and then every once in a while, just looking like, okay, that's where we are in Empire. Okay, that's interesting. Oh, that's where we are in Return of the Jedi. Okay, cool. So I was a little bit disappointed in my members at my gym. I seen one person wearing a Star Wars shirt after hundreds of people at the gym. I'm like, come on, guys, do better. Just do better. It's Star Wars Day, okay? So, but it was fun because it was the one day where I could actually openly talk to clients about, hey, Star Wars Day and all this, and they'd be like, yeah. My one client was telling about the just the son and how she got started. It was so cool because I have so many different kind of members that I train at this gym that have different walks of life. I have people from all over the world because Princeton is a very affluent area with the university. People come from all over, a lot of different people's walks of life. The one client I train, she is Indian, and her father at one point lived in Switzerland and brought back like a VHS, and that's how she started watching Star Wars through the VHS he had brought back to India. And she was like the only family that had a VHS, so all the kids would come over and watch Star Wars. Her brothers would basically play through the VHS so much time it would like break the tape essentially. We've all done that, right? So
Yeah.
it was kind of cool. Like I was like, yeah, how was it watching Star Wars in India? Like that's so cool because we know us Americans here, like we're so used to it. Yeah, this is an American franchise, but not really. I mean, we're going to talk later in this episode about we're going to be, at least I'm going to be going over to Japan, and it's crazy to think that on the other side of the world, people are just as fervent about this franchise as that. So I thought that was
Yeah.
a fun way of working yesterday, just getting different members' experiences on Star Wars, what they like, what they don't like. I have a couple members that were just like, Phantom Menace is crap and all that stuff. Basically, they're like, what are those creatures? One client is like, what are those creatures? Those stupid creatures with the big ears things. I'm like, oh, you're talking about the Gungans. And then and then he's like, yeah, I'm watching them all over again. He's like, I'm watching the next one. I'm like, Attack of the Clones. Oh, if you don't like Phantom Menace, I can't wait to hear your reaction to Attack of the
Well,
Clones.
it's funny you say that. So I have a friend actually who they went and uh, ended up going and watching the Phantom Menace for the very first time with their family actually on Friday, and it was their first time ever seeing any Star Wars at all, like period. So she was saying she actually really enjoyed Phantom Menace and like had a good time with it. Like she was surprised because at first it was like, oh, I don't want to go, blah blah blah, and then she decided at the last minute to go with her family, and then she had a really good time with it actually. So it was cool just hearing like feedback from like a totally new fan, like a totally someone who's just getting interested in the franchise. So yeah, like I don't know, it's just cool just seeing Star Wars fans become more and more, I guess, like cultivated or like become kind of coming out of the woodworks, whether it be
Yeah.
like people like us who've been hardcore fans forever, or just brand new people coming into the franchise this weekend. Like it's always neat getting to see that sort of thing happen.
Oh yeah, certainly, certainly. So yeah, basically I got out of work, went to Target on the way there. I had to track down a certain bounty that I've been seeing posted around the interwebs, and I was successful in said bounty. And that would be some blue milk, everybody. I got some blue milk from True Moo. This is at Target. I got 2 half gallons of this sucker, and I spiked it with a little spotchka, just so you all know. So, there we go. Cheers to everybody. Revenge of the Fifth. Revenge of the Fifth. That's good. So if you're curious of what this is, it's not like the same stuff that you would get at Galaxy's Edge. Um, if I could explain it, I think my mom did a really good job of explaining it. It almost tastes like it's very sweet. It almost tastes like the syrup that you would get at the bottom of like a strawberry milkshake, or like
Mm.
like the strawberry syrup that you would pour into milk and mix it around. Like it basically is a whole glass that kind of tastes like that. It's like that kind of
Yeah,
residual stuff at the
that's too
bottom.
much sugar, man.
Yep.
That's too much sugar and diabetes. I'm good.
I'll tell you what though, it's got 8 grams of protein, so it's a
No,
little bit more than I would expect out of something like this. But yeah, I'm a sugar tooth through and
Yeah,
through. That's the one thing I can't escape from. So for me, it's actually
right.
probably pretty tolerable. For other people, it'd
Mhm.
probably be way too overpowering. Um, and I was at Target. I got this. I was like, let me go down the toy aisle. I haven't bought like anything like from the toys in probably close to a year, maybe, just because I really don't even have any place to put the stuff anymore. But they had 20% off, and this actually got me thinking about Milton because I know he had always talked about a certain toy that he always had growing up, and yeah, I love these micro fighters from Jazzwares. I
Mm.
got little
Oh
Naboo
yeah.
fighter.
That's the one that I have.
Yeah, yeah. So this is basically like the old school toy line, but they brought it back, Jazzwares. It's like a little
Yeah.
Anakin Skywalker in there. You got R2. They can come out. It's got little landing gears and all. But yeah, this thing's awesome. I had like the big Hasbro version or Kenner, whatever it was at the time, with like the 3.3 quarter figures in there. So yeah. So it's like, okay, let me buy something on Star Wars Day. It's 20% off, so it was like $10. I was like, whatever.
Yeah.
Um,
Actually, that does remind me. I did actually do something Star Wars related. Now to think about it, uh, was it not next week, but the week after? I have to go to New Jersey and visit my girlfriend's family for her nephew's birthday, and I bought him a Black Series Darth Vader
ooh,
yesterday.
Nice.
yeah.
I did do it yesterday, and then today actually, I went to this little like toy show with my one friend Jason, and we saw they had like these vintage. They had the vintage tapes. It was Empire Strikes Back, like the original joints, not the special editions, but the original tape of
Dang,
Empire
that's
Strikes
awesome.
Back, and I was like, oh yeah. So someone was selling it for like $10.
That's $10. That is a steal.
Yeah,
Oh man.
yeah. I mean,
So,
I have the special edition, so I'm good. I like the gold box,
yep,
but these are
yep.
actually the tapes that came out in 1980 something.
Heck
That's
yeah.
awesome.
Heck yeah. So, yeah, we got a lot of people watching. So, I want to just say hello to everybody out there watching. We have Skywalker's Academy in the chat. We have Dark Nerdy Gonzo in the chat. Just some housekeeping. We go live usually around this time, 7 p.m. Eastern on every Sunday to recap the weekly news and anything else that came out. Like we're going to be talking about Bad Batch in a few moments here. But yeah, you can always listen to us as well on the go. We are available on any podcast streaming app, mainly Spotify and Apple and Amazon, everything else. So go ahead, just look up Outer Rim Transmission. But yeah, so happy to get into things. We do have a lot of releases, obviously, that came out this week, just on printed form. So just running through the list of those. We have the Phantom Menace 25th anniversary. Me and Matthew over on Star Wars Underworld YouTube channel. We every Wednesday break those down with the Tractor Beam live show, and we did a long episode just talking about that single issue, which was really fun. It's basically just like an adaptation of the Phantom Menace from Anakin Skywalker's point of view. It's a one shot, so it's an oversized issue that has stuff that takes place before, during, and after the Phantom Menace to add more context to the Phantom Menace. And let me tell you, after reading that and then going to see the movie, there is things I did not even realize that happened in the movie, like certain lines of dialogue that related right to this comic book with the deleted scenes that they put in. And I was like, that is awesome. So yeah, you can check out our discussion. You can check out my review of that issue on the channel. We also had free comic book day yesterday, which is just nuts. Like the stars aligned on that one, where every Friday, the first Saturday of every May, free comic book day, the publishers put out free issues, and it's just a good way to support the local businesses. That's all these local shops are. So they have a Young Jedi Adventures issue out, and they also have a Star Wars issue, which is half Star Wars mainline, and it's half Darth Vader series in between Empire and Return of the Jedi. So I actually put out a video yesterday as well, late in the evening. So there is a new video on the channel. If you weren't notified of that, it's me just reviewing those comics. So yeah, go ahead and check that out. But without further ado, let's jump into the main topic of tonight. And that is the Bad Batch has now wrapped up after 3 seasons. We have episode 15 of season 3 titled The Calvary Has Arrived. They're coming full circle, right? That's the first line of dialogue we hear these guys having. And that's the last episode of this series. So yes, it is the assault of Mount Tantus. The Bad Batch go on a suicide mission to save Omega, who maybe doesn't need all that much saving because she ends up being purely capable on her own to lead her own little bad batch of sorts to get out of there. But it was not without heavy losses, but they do get out unscathed. I'm going to throw this one over to Milton. What's your first reactions to first impressions of the episode, man?
I actually watched this as a two-parter. I watched episode 14 and 15 together. So my opinion is going to be probably skewed a little bit on my perception of how it played out. As a two-parter, I thought it was a solid good finale because of getting the benefit of seeing episode 14 and going right into 15. I thought the lead up felt good. It was necessary. It felt right. As an episode by itself, as a true finale, it wasn't bad. Like, it's not trash, and I don't want anyone to think, oh, he's going to be negative. It's just I was expecting more, and this is a discussion that me and my brother had because he actually called me the day before, and I was like, I haven't seen it yet, and he's like, he wasn't happy with it. Actually, this is what he said, word for word. He's like, I have 7 minutes left, and unless shit happens in my pants, he's like, this is a 5 out of 10. Because he wasn't like,
what was he
he
looking
was
for?
expecting more. He was saying like, he was hoping like Palpatine would show up. He was hoping like Vader would show up. Just because like how they were building that ending, he's like, something has to happen. Someone has to die, you know? So his expectations were like, something needed dramatically happen to push these characters forward, or at least like not eradicate them, but like there's no way they all live. There's no way like there's no unforeseen consequences. And I think he just was like, that's the finale, that's it. So he wasn't happy with it. I thought it was solid. I thought it was okay. It was a little too convenient at times, but it worked for what they were doing with the show.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. I'm definitely a little higher on you with this episode, and that's what we're about to get into today. That's the point of this episode. Why we do this podcast is to have positive discussion on, hey, maybe this is my perspective on why I like this more than maybe you did, and yada yada, and we go back and forth. So, yeah, I will agree on the points that you enjoyed. I enjoyed as well. Throw it over to you, Ben. What are your first impressions?
Yeah, I mean, I can kind of relate to both of you guys, really. Like, for me, I think, like, all right, so when it comes to this finale, like we always say, tamper expectations with a lot of these things with Star Wars these days. But the thing is, it really did, to me, feel like it was building to something. I don't know. I just feel like this finale, they kind of played it safe. They played it. It feels like it was kind of played safe, and I'm not saying that in a bad way. I'm saying like this is like a really solid B project type finale. Like, it's solid. It's good. It's good. I could have used maybe just like I don't know, like a little more something. Like maybe I don't know. I guess for me, anyways, I feel like overall the episode, like you said, it was good. It was solid. I think it had some good action in it. It had some good moments of, I would say, some stakes to a degree, because like when Crosshair's talking about going into Tantus by himself, they're like, "Oh, you can't do Plan 99 by yourself.
Yeah,
we're all going in together." I thought that meant, oh man, they're foreshadowing everybody's going to get taken out. Like, I thought that's what it was. And then we just make it through and it's like, oh wait, everybody actually makes it out. So I don't know. I thought it was kind of a kind of weird the way they did that, because I thought it was really excellent foreshadowing. Like if we would have gotten like a Rogue One style ending, which obviously like you can't compare this to Rogue One because it's like two different mediums altogether. But if we would have gotten something similar to that, I think it would have been a more of a satisfying payoff. But like overall, like I said, it's a good, solid finale. This, in my opinion, by any stretch, isn't the best finale we've had animation-wise. I still think Clone Wars and Rebels are above it, but I think this was a really good finale for what the series was, as well as overall. I keep giving my sports records throughout this entire season, really, and I have to do it for the finale. Like, we went into this like to me, I think there's only been one or two episodes that were kind of like eh. So like overall, this season was kind of like a 13-2 type season. Like this is a really good, really good, strong season of Bad Batch, and I think this was it was a nice way to end it, especially with the epilogue scene. But that's kind of like my overarching thoughts. I think it was just a good, solid, kind of safe finale.
Yeah, I'm gonna go on the edge. I'm gonna be edgy. I'm gonna say this is the best Star Wars animated finale we've had. I am incredibly high. I was incredibly moved. This ending stuck up on me, man. Like I got moved emotionally. I got hit in my feels. It was everything I want to feel from a Star Wars ending, and it snuck up. It snuck up on me and how much I was invested in these characters, and I didn't realize subconsciously that I was so invested in these characters. So when the ending came, it was like this cathartic release of holy crap, like this is such a big moment for these characters, and it's all because the groundwork that was laid upon us these many seasons, right? It only took three seasons for me to really care this much about the characters. But going back, Ben, like last week, I was like laying out, hey, this is exactly how this ending is gonna go.
Yep.
And literally none of that basically played out in my head. Like that's a good sign of great writing. Like these guys are getting paid the big bucks to think outside the box, to really play with our emotions, to write something that I cannot write in my head. So when that happens, I immediately think, okay, this is great quality. They, like you said, they telegraphed the death of Wrecker, right? He's just like lagging behind, Crosshair's hands all left up. He's gonna miss his shots. Like there's so many moments that I was bought into that these guys are dead. There's no way they're getting out of here. And then they just completely pull the rug out from under us, and it's like, oh no, this is how the story is actually going to go. I keep reciting the line from Last Jedi. This is from Luke. This is not how this is going to end. Or I forgot. I just totally butchered the line, but you know what I'm saying. It's from the trailer of the Last Jedi.
This is not going to go how you expect.
There you go.
Yeah, it's not going to go the way you think.
Yeah,
Yep,
exactly.
that's
That's exactly what it was. Thank you, Milton. So yeah, like for me on that level, it did that. But then what every great finale does is, for me, it ties up the major plot points while providing tantalizing ideas of what could come next. And that epilogue really showed a lot of potential for future stories, or maybe things that we'll just imagine in our heads for a while in our head canon. But yeah, I mean, it had great action. Animation was amazing. A lot of shock in all moments. We'll get into all those specific moments here, but yeah, first impression was I was very positive on this episode and how it kind of closed the chapter of this area of Star Wars animation. So what I want to talk about first is just I guess going into the whole thing with Wrecker, and I guess we could deal with the big thing first of, hey, these guys didn't die. And I'll throw it back to you, Ben. Like, what was your reaction? What do you think? Would you think the story would be better if they died, or were you happy with how they left it? What do you think about all that?
I think for me, like I said, the finale was safe. So like them not dying, it's not like the end of the world just because, if you kill off a bunch of them, maybe fans get all wild and stuff. We've seen Star Wars fans get wild over like a lot of things. So, maybe they go and kill off a Hunter and Crosshair and these people, and then, people freak out. So like, there's that. But for me, like personally, I think it was more along the lines of like, they were foreshadowing things like what it actually felt like to me. It felt like to me the end of Bad Batch season 2, where it was like they're foreshadowing stuff like, oh, we're building to something, like, foreshadowing to these characters' deaths or some sorts of demise or something potentially. And then it's just like you get to the end of it, like we did with Omega and Emery at the end of season 2. You get to the end of this one where they all make it through, and you're just like, oh, okay, that's fine. It's like, it's all right. So like for me, I think it was a solid a solid way to do things with their characters. I would have preferred at least Crosshair, maybe, just because of his whole character arc. Maybe like have him go out in some cool way, like because you could, with clone troopers, you can have them go out in a really cool way. I mean, flashback clear to Clone Wars season 1, episode 1, I believe. Like when what's his name, the clone trooper sacrifices himself in the bunker, like pressing the button and blowing all the droids to pieces and stuff. Like that whole sequence was great, and like I think we could have gotten something like that.
That was Heavy,
with,
right?
like, oh yeah, Heavy. Yep, that's who it was. Yep, like something like that with Crosshair, I think would have been really neat, personally. And yeah, so like overall, I think it was a solid choice to keep them all together. Now I do like the end of things though, with the epilogue where you have the guy still alive, obviously, but I like that Omega's wanting to leave, or to go join the rebellion, just because, like, at least with her character, you can work her into the rebellion stuff, like as a pilot, like she even said, as a pilot, like you can work her into that sort of stuff, versus it's just presuming the clone troopers are just retired, because like you don't want to, like we get into this weird spot with Star Wars content. I see it all the time when people talk about Jedi and stuff. Like you get into this weird spot where it's like you have these characters that are so critical in the whole galactic story right now, and then they're still alive during the OT, and it's like obviously they can't be inserted into the live action movies. But it's just like when you create a lot of characters that are worried about the galactic risk or whatever right now, the galactic threat. Like right now, what they're dealing with is literally galactic level type stuff with this cloning facility. So like, in theory, if they would all survive and say, oh yeah, we want to join the rebellion, they should be dealing with the stuff on Yavin in A New Hope or Endor or Hoth or whatever. Like they should be involved with those stories. So that's why I'm glad they're like presuming the clone troopers just to be like retired, and Omega get just worked in as a pilot somewhere in the background, versus like, if you'd have these specialty clone troopers, why wouldn't the rebellion use them in the OT? That's always like the catch-all thing. So I'm glad they made them living more appropriate just by like kind of retiring them more than anything.
Yeah, I have a lot to say on this. So when it comes to death, we can't forget we already seen Tech die. There's been limits set on the severity of the caution that these guys got to use. Like one of their brothers is dead. They even said the Bad Batch is over. I think it was this episode or the last episode. Like we don't even call ourselves the Bad Batch since Tech died. So Tech is that cautionary tale of like, yeah, we are not immune. We are not immortal. Like we are living on borrowed time in this galaxy that is changing. And the idea that I love this fact that they didn't kill off Crosshair, because how many times do I got to say Star Wars has got to deal with redemption in a way where they don't just kill somebody 30 seconds later. So now we have a Crosshair that has gone through a lot. He's now lost his hand. We didn't see him in the epilogue, but I'm very curious of what he looks like and how he behaves. But to me, I don't know, Milton. I certainly love how they are playing with the way these guys are dealt with at the end. What did you think? Would you rather these guys have died off? Do you think they left it good with this, or what?
I mean, look, I'm fine with them surviving. Like that's, again, it could have gone either way. One or two, I'd have been fine with either way. But if they chose to retire them, which was probably the most appropriate way to do it. Now they had you thinking they were going to die, obviously, but they didn't. I thought the epilogue with Hunter and Omega. I mean, again, that was a good way to, I guess, conclude their story. I just felt that with her just becoming a rebel pilot was cheating a little bit, just because she's super valuable and talented and skilled. You would think you would think the rebellion would at least try to take advantage of her abilities, but it also makes sense that she just want to be a regular person and just say, hey, I'm a pilot. I'm not going to really tell you where I come from or what my background is. So I see both ways of how they wrote it because I know what I saw. I think I saw something on Twitter where people were like, "There's no way she just becomes a regular pilot. She's too good at her job. She's too talented. Like she would rise up super quick." And I agree, but because Dave Filoni and his team's thinking, well, you don't hear about her much in the OT trilogy. That means she just wanted to stay in the background. She just wanted to fight and just move. She didn't want to bring attention to herself. Because let's be real here, if the Empire knew about her still, they would have been coming for her. So I was fine with how they played it out.
Yeah, I like also that we got a nice happy ending in Star Wars. We don't see it that a whole lot. The idea that not everybody has to fight every second of their lives, and even before the epilogue, just that's what got me a little bit at the end was all you see all those guys just sitting there under the tree, and Hunter's just saying, we could be what we want to be. We don't have to be soldiers. We could do what we want to do. And I thought that was a great, fantastic way to just cap out the legacy of the clone troopers about how these clones were looked at as robots. They were looked at as cannon fodder. Just throw them in a battle. We'll just replicate more clones, create more clones. And Clone Wars, this is the legacy of the Clone Wars Bad Batch. And to see how that legacy has found an ending that I thought was a pretty strong ending. It's like, yeah, these guys could actually Hunter, Wrecker, Crosshair, Omega, they could just relax. They could hang out on Pabu. That's a great way to write them out of like rebels and stuff. Like, yeah, they don't have to fight the war. They've done enough. They don't want to do that stuff anymore. They found their peace at their home. And I think that's just nice to say, hey, they just don't have to battle all the time. I don't know, Ben. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a good way to do it. Um, like I said, I like that they kind of retired the clones that in that fashion, just because it's like, if you have them, I don't know, all of a sudden they get a comm call from Captain Rex saying, "Hey, come and join the rebellion," blah 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 blah. It'd be like, oh man, like are we gonna you can obviously squeeze in people into the background in Star Wars. They don't even have to be involved in the movies. Like, we all know Captain Rex like in Return of the Jedi, but like they don't have to be clone troopers we see on screen. Like they can be, who knows, they could be in like the Battle of Tanab or something, or something along those lines. So like they could technically like squeeze people in like that into the OT. It's just it's nice that they retired them kind of in this fashion, like you said, to be kind of just relaxing, away from the fight, and then they're actually like Hunter's letting Omega move on to continue the fight, basically, which is nice, and it's a feasible way, like Milton was saying, that you have her character being more of like a background pilot, which arguably, the rebels are probably having like missions anywhere in the galaxy. Like you don't have to have every pilot right in the main fight. So like, maybe she's like somewhere else, like at a different area or a different planet. We know the rebels have done a lot more missions than just what we see on screen.
Mm-hmm.
So it's nice they can kind of like work her in that way. Um and yeah, like I think that's a really like kind of like appropriate ending and like just a nice way to answer things. Because like I would have had a way bigger issue with this. Like if we would have gotten like say Rex or God forbid like Mon Mothma recruiting them or something, then it would have been like whoa, like this is
Yeah.
way too much. Just because if you keep adding more and more people, it's like the whole argument of like, oh, we keep introducing all these Jedi into Star Wars into the OT era, and then they're all just kind of sitting back going, nah, I'm good, I'm not going to get involved, I'm just going to chill and hide out, when all this big galactic conquest is going on, when like arguably Luke could use their help. So it's nice that they did this in this fashion. Like I'm very happy with it. Like I don't have like any issues with it really.
Yeah, yeah. So let's not save the epilogue for the end of this. Let's just dive into it now because I know that's what's on most people's minds. At least it was on mine. I'll throw it
Yep.
over you, Milton. What was your reaction to just like the cut to black, and then all of a sudden it's like, wait, that's Omega? Like, holy crap, she got way older. What'd you think of the epilogue as a whole?
Um, Again, I thought it was convenient. I thought I thought it was simple. Um, I think I was expecting more when it comes to the epilogue. Maybe just like, yeah, I assume they would time jump it because obviously, they have to see how her character plays out as she gets older. But it was just simple, and I guess my only negative was that she stayed on the island for 10 years and then decided to go join the fight. I don't know. I felt that was a little too easy. I was hoping they would at least talk about what their time was like, and
Hmm.
I guess they kind of did hint to it a little bit, like they're peaceful, they're just chilling, and she's now ready to go fight. But I don't know. I just felt I had a lot of feelings about this season in general, of thinking were some of the characters that we saw for one episode were they kind of pointless. Like I thought of Ventress. I'm like,
Mm.
why was she in the show
Hmm.
if we get this one episode with her and then nothing happens with Omega's like a force ability or sensitivity to it. So stuff like that I thought about. I'm thinking, well, was Ventress even needed at this point? I don't know. And maybe I'm looking too much into it, but I thought about those type of things when I watched the epilogue. But with Hunter and with Omega themselves, it was an appropriate ending for their story that was told, because they're very much not just brother and sister, they're very much like daughter and father in a
Hmm.
lot of ways.
And
So
that's yeah.
I thought it was well done in that nature. So you can clearly see that their bond is very close, and I did appreciate that.
Yeah, he even says like you're our girl and all this stuff, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh man, like I really connected with that moment. Like I was saying before, like that was the emotional gut punch that I didn't know I would get from the show, but I was like, damn, like these guys are really some big characters that are important for me at least. Um, and yeah, I'm totally right there with you. I think it is kind of weird, the whole Ventress thing. It's like you had to go to starwars.com to like read that they're not going to have her in any more episodes to, so I was already prepared to know like, oh yeah, they already said that they're going to explore her in other things. They didn't say what those things were, but they literally said that in an article on Star Wars. Like I'm like, okay, that's still kind of weird. So I was thinking like maybe I think what would be better if they like showed Omega in the ship arriving at the hidden path fortress with like Asajj and Quinlan. That would make sense. Like, oh, okay, I see why she was in there because now we see her at the way end and Omega uniting. But the thing that stuck out to me was when she said, "Oh, I'm going to join the rebellion as a pilot." And the way I don't know. I mean, yes, the rebellion. My head immediately went to, "Oh, is this like post Battle of Yavin?" Because when you reference like the rebellion like that, I mean, I know that Luke had said with Biggs in a deleted scene or something like the rebellion before that, but to me, I think of the rebellion at its peak is like right after Empire, right after A New Hope, up into Return of the Jedi, where the comics are. And then that immediately got my head thinking like, oh man, maybe the next animated series will be. My hope is like maybe it's like a Clone Wars formatted, like different arcs exploring the Galactic Civil War conflict at the peak. You might have 3 or 4 episodes with Omega training with Hera as a pilot, and then you'll have Asajj Ventress with the hidden path and doing some things in the background or something like that. That was kind of like my initial like where I peaked up my interest, like, oh wow, could they be going here? But then I realized they could go pre A New Hope as well. And that's another thing. I just wish they were a little bit clearer on the time that was in, because
Yep.
I don't know if they're gonna just drop this now and just like have it in another story, or what's happening, like a comic or a TV series, or what the heck it's gonna be, a video game. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I see. All right, my first knee jerk reaction at 4 a.m. watching this was I was like, all right, this is post A New Hope because they just lost a bunch of pilots
Yep.
in the squadron, etc., all that stuff. But then the problem arises when you start doing the math. Omega, like when Bad Batch starts, and even ends, when Bad Batch ends, what Omega's probably like 13 to 15 range.
Yeah.
Even at that, like if you'd math it out, like by the time, if you fast forward to A New Hope or a little bit after,
She'd be
like
30.
she's 30, and I don't think her character model looks like that. Like maybe she's
Yeah.
like a young looking 30. So then I started thinking, all right, maybe Chris, here's where your Andor stuff comes in. But maybe this is more pre A New Hope, when like Cassian and Mothma and all these people are starting to build the rebellion, and like they're saying like the rebels need to start building up, like say the rebel fleet or whatever, or
Yes,
the
like,
rebel squadron. Like maybe it's something kind of Andor timeline, kind of in the middle
yeah.
before A New Hope, because I don't know, like if they do say this is post A New Hope, I'll say okay, but like they made her character model look like she's maybe like 24, 23, 25 max. Like, so I feel like it's, if it's after A New Hope, it's kind of a stretch, but if I had to bank it after I mathed it out, I think it's more like the Andor time period.
Mm. Yeah, I could maybe see that. I mean, when I'm looking at the rebellion that's formed, I think our kind of like watermark or whatever, figure out where it is when Mon Mothma like makes a stand against the Imperial Senate and like gets rescued by the rebellion and she gives that speech or whatever. I think that is really like the official start of the Rebel Alliance when you have all these different sects coming together as to form the alliance kind of thing. So, and that takes place, I think, 2 to 3 years before A New Hope. So, I think at the very least, we could be a little bit before A New Hope. And we're gonna get back to this actual episode, but I just want to knock this out of the way. We're gonna cycle back. There's a lot more things in this episode to still talk about, but I just don't like the idea of like another animated series taking place literally at the same time as Rebels or something. I feel like there's more room to explore.
And
Let's do original trilogy era because we don't have
and
an animated series then, you know?
oh yeah, for sure. In my opinion, though, I think what they should do, I feel like this is what, I mean, Milton said this for years now on the podcast. I feel like what all they need to do realistically, just to, you could get, I mean, every group of fans on board, anybody that you see on the internet, whether it be from one side of the spectrum or the other when it comes to the Star Wars fandom, like, why not just give us a post Return of the Jedi 2 years after and have it be Han, Luke, and Leia? Give us 3 seasons, Han, Luke, and Leia adventures, and I feel like everybody would be happy with something like that. And it's just like it's sitting on a silver platter, I feel like, for them. But yeah, you know, that's a podcast for another day. But that's just
Yeah.
kind of my like wish list of an animated series. But yeah, overall though, I think we have a lot to talk about with this episode still. I mean,
Yeah.
there's so many interesting details. Like, I mean, I guess while we're talking kind of like at the end of the episode, I really did enjoy the stakes and the feel
Mm-hmm.
of Hemlock basically like holding Omega hostage and the Bad
Yeah.
Batch having to like worry about shooting her or Hemlock. Like that whole the cinematography, also the animation again, you know, is on point with this series. Like just how good Hemlock and Omega looked in the rain with it being
Yeah.
dark and rainy and the lightning and all this stuff. Like the stakes felt real, and I really liked the way that ended.
Mm.
Like obviously you couldn't have Crosshair shoot Omega, like 'cause that'd be way too much for this type of show. But like, you know, just the stakes of that potential being there was really nice.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't get more climactic than that, right? You have the rain, you have this long catwalk, and somebody had hostage. I'm like, it doesn't get, like you said, higher stakes than this. Yeah, what'd you think of this moment there, Milton?
It was good. I thought like the visuals have not disappointed me. I will say that the animation has gotten significantly better, whether it's from Clone Wars to Resist or not Resistance, from Clone Wars to Rebels to Bad Batch, to Tales of the Jedi. Like it's look again. I would sign up for a 3 hour movie with this animation style.
Mm-hmm.
And after watching Tales of the Jedi, or excuse me, Tales of the Empire today, again the animation, the way they can portray emotion
Mm-hmm.
and stakes with the visual aesthetics of like the environment, simple things like rain, like someone breathing, like the
Mm-hmm.
wind gusts, like it's just cool to see like, oh my god, I'm watching a cinematic scene but it's animated,
Yeah.
and it's probably more visually stunning than an actual live action shot.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that. I loved how it looked.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, cycling back to this episode, the idea that they're alluding to, oh, we're gonna call in. You guys are gonna double back, go to communications hub, call for Rex. We'll get reinforcements. And that's my big thing. I was like, oh, I was totally expecting that Rise of Skywalker moment.
Yep.
All of us kind of thing. Everybody just shows up and just saves the day. And you know what? The more I think about it, the more I'm like, I'm glad that didn't happen because this show is about the Bad Batch, not Rex and everybody else. And it shows you, again, the prowess, the abilities of this commando team. They are commandos after all, of being able to go in and complete the mission and not need the help. And we're able to. We're not gonna we're not gonna get the glory taken away by some other person that saves the day. There's no Jedi around. It's just straight up military action. And then it even leads into something I've been waiting for this entire time is they freed all these clones. It was the clones versus the Empire. It was this cool little miniature clone uprising that I've been waiting so long to see. And that just got me really, really happy to see that happening.
Oh yeah, it was awesome seeing like the clone uprising, just seeing them all come together. I do want to throw in there. I do like that Echo survived just because he's like our last Clone Wars character, like other than Rex, obviously. But it's nice seeing Echo make it through all this action and stuff. It's great seeing him. I do want to note though for this episode, since we're on like the clone subject, I do wish, just selfishly, being a fan of this game, and I'm sure you know where I'm going with this, Chris, but
Yep.
and Milton, of course. All right, we have. This is what knocks me. This is my Star Wars nerd nitpick, but it's gonna get picked here because I do have a major issue with this because
Yep.
because you have Scorch, you use Commander Scorch in this episode.
Voiced by
But-
D. Bradley Baker.
Yeah, you have him. You have him getting shown and used in this episode, and then you just bring in these other random clone commandos. Why don't you just use the Republic Commando Squad? We've been saying it since season 1, episode 1 of Bad Batch. All we want to see by the end of the series is Bad Batch versus evil commandos, and we of course get it, but
Yeah.
it's like you had it right there on a silver platter. Like all you had to do was just make those guys Boss, Sev, and Fixer, and literally their traits are the exact same as the Bad Batch, so it would have been a great standoff or something versus like, having Scorch being involved and all this stuff. Like, that was like my, like, of course, other than like my overall critiques, but that was like my nitpick critique where it's just like, it's just right there in front of you on a silver platter, and they're like, nah, let's just use only Scorch and then just use some random commandos.
Yeah.
Like that was just like, I don't know. I was shaking my head when I saw them because I was like, oh my gosh, we got Scorch. Are we going to get the other commando crew? And then it was like, nope.
Here's the thing. I get where they're coming from. I get what
Oh,
they are
yeah.
trying to like create the mirror of the Bad Batch by like, you have these other modified genetically defected clones or whatever, and they're all their own. So they got the guy with the swords, all these different kind of guys with these archetypes, and it's like, oh yeah, you're versing your brothers like if you're evil kind of thing. Where I don't know if Delta Squad, they're not genetically modified or anything. I don't believe they're just really good with training, right, or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
My critique came by how easily they killed Scorch. Like Scorch didn't even get a blaster bolt
Yeah.
off before he was shot like 10 times. It was like, dude, like it's not like he just showed up in this episode. He was in the last season or two. He didn't do much, but it's like, yeah, you could have just had any other Imperial commander. You didn't really even have to have Scourge. And then that leads me to believe, like, where are the other 3 squad mates? Did they die and they're just not here? Like, what's going on? I hope we get like a comic that just explains this or a book or something at some point, because yeah, people are not happy. I mean, I was looking on Twitter and everything else as I normally do to get a vibe of how the episode was, and yeah, the constant thing I kept seeing in comments is like they did Scourge dirty. It's just like, yeah, they're not wrong though. This guy's got a lot of famed past, and they have baggage with him, and they certainly didn't deal with it at all.
Yeah, I'm not kidding you. Like, my cousin, who's like not, he's a hardcore Star Wars fan, but he's not like as like super inside baseball like all of us. And what he texted me though when he watched because he just watched the finale yesterday, and he texted me yesterday morning. He watched it when he was on his lunch break, and he texted me and was like, "Hey, were those other clone like commando guys, was that the Republic Commando Squad? I said no, unfortunately it wasn't.
What if it
They only had
was?
Scorch in there.
What if
Like
it was them
they,
actually genetically modified, but they didn't tell us?
hey, you never know. So that was kind of my only like nitpick and stuff, but yeah, I'm happy at least we got one of the commandos in something.
Yeah, I mean, at least, I mean, they are canon because they did all show up in that one episode where they had the dead body of the Jedi or
Yep.
whoever they were delivering from Savage Press, I think it was. But anyway, I want to throw this next one. There is an Andor-esque moment in this episode. I gotta call it out. I'm gonna throw it over to Milton on this one. What'd you think of the whole way that the situation ended with Nalase and with Admiral Rampart in the information area there?
I, trying to think how I felt about it in the moment. I kind of was like, good for it, good for her.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you kind of knew she had to go.
Yep.
Like, you knew she had to go. 'Cause I mean, like the Kaminoans weren't around. Like, I mean,
Hmm.
and their technology and their science was lost for a reason. So it made sense for her to die. But Rampart, dude, he's a scumbag. Like, bro, they broke you out of that prison. But then it's like you're not surprised because he's a scumbag and he's selfish. So it's like, all right, like I'm glad you got killed too. So it worked itself out. I was
Yeah.
pleased with it and I was happy with it.
Yeah,
Well,
go ahead. Yep.
Milton, I thought the funniest part about the Rampart thing, I thought of you because I was like, man, Milton's probably like reacting like, what? Like, I love that Rampart thought he could bargain with the Emperor. Like,
Yeah, I'm like that. Yeah, I'm like, bro, what are you thinking?
yeah, I
Like,
was
like
like,
I legit was like, this ain't going to end well for him. He's over for me because there's no. I mean, the Empire. And here's the thing, and this is why I was talking about the Palpatine thing because Project Necromancer was so important to him. That's why I was thinking he would at least show up and make one more appearance.
Hmm.
But then I'm thinking, well, if Rampart gets the information, the Empire's not going to. Palpatine's not going to negotiate. He's going to just take it and kill old boy. So he should have thought about that. Like he wasn't thinking that way. He thought, well,
mhm.
maybe I can get in his good graces. Palpatine don't need you. He needs the info. He doesn't need you. So it's like, bro, you're screwed no matter what.
Yeah, yeah, but I was happy with that character. I think he added that element of I don't know what's happening in this episode. Like he could be either way. So that really led to that wild card of okay, this could go good or bad for the Bad Batch. And I thought it was a pretty savage moment when you just see both of them going up in flames and everything else. Another part at the end, I definitely want to highlight. First of all, just the entrance of Grand Moff Tarkin's Star Destroyer. That is the first time in the timeline that we see a Star Destroyer that early on. So we get to really see like, okay, we have seen now like the Republic has completely transitioned. We start out with Phase 2 clones, Venator class cruisers. And now we have like everybody is now a stormtrooper basically at this point, and now we have Star Destroyers. So that was pretty cool. But Ben, I'll throw this over to you because you have a lot of in-depth knowledge with the Thrawn trilogy. I thought it was very interesting that Moff Tarkin just wouldn't orbital strike Tantus at that point, knowing it was compromised. But instead, he decided to shutter it after removing everything. Almost seems like they might reuse Tantus at some point, but I know you have a lot of knowledge
Yeah,
with Legends. Like, what do you think about that whole situation?
yeah. I mean, I feel like there's a chance. That's what I thought that was a little odd. That like, obviously the Zilla Beast and everything was destroying it, whatever. But like, it wasn't like, like you said, orbital just flattened to the ground like Camino was. So it's just like that's one thought I came out of it with, where it was like, okay, so they didn't destroy it completely. So that means, they're maybe could use it down the road somewhere. Maybe like you have, I don't know, maybe we know the Emperor wants to get back into cloning stuff. Maybe the reason his cloning is shaky because they send someone else back there to like go scout the remains, get some of the tech, whatever, and do something along those lines. Because like even in the old EU, like they, there's always references to like Tantus and like the technology there and all these things, and like even years after, like I just finished Survivor's Quest and like they were still, I think they referenced Tantus once or twice in that, like, so you're still referencing that years later in the EU. And I feel like the way they did it in particular, like you said, not to like completely wipe it off the map, off the board, so you can't ever use it again. So like I think they did that intentionally. And who knows, maybe we get something along those lines. Maybe we get them going and like getting some of the tech there. Like maybe that's where, because we don't know exactly where, for example, Dr. Pershing is in the Mandoverse. Like we don't know exactly, like on the holograms in like season 1 or season 2, whatever that is. We're not exactly sure. So who knows? Maybe like they recovered some of the tech and he's using some of that or something. Like I think there's something to that though, because like I did note that as a peculiar moment where it was like, okay, they didn't completely obliterate, like it wasn't like an Endor bunker situation where it just got blown off the face of the planet. Like it's still there, the wreckage is there. So yeah, I think it was very intentional for them to like. I mean, it's destroyed right now architecturally, but it's saved basically.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's interesting. Certainly interesting. What'd you think about the Zilla Beast? Anybody?
I thought the Zilla Beast thing was pretty interesting. I just think I don't know, like you were mentioning, Milton, with the Ventress stuff. It was just kind of like I thought we would have got more of like a pop with the Zilla Beast. Like I know the Zilla Beast, there was stuff going on with it, but I feel like maybe the Zilla Beast should have been involved more in this episode, like more destruction or more like just something, because it just felt like because they wanted to connect it back to the Ventress stuff, but then it just feels like the Zilla Beast wasn't used that much for what the payoff from the Ventress. So like if you're building the payoff from like the Ventress Beast situation, the sea monster situation, you would expect it. I feel like I don't know. I would have just expected the payoff to be a little bit bigger than what we got.
Yeah.
I thought about honestly, man. I thought about you because I thought you made a comment like a month or two ago about you wanted the Zilla Beast to show up, and I was thinking like, oh my god, like Ben got his wish.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, like, I like that it showed up. It's just maybe not in the exact fashion I would have preferred.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I mean, the Zilla Beast, like it did its job, but it didn't really have an impact because honestly, me and my brother said, how the hell did it keep that thing contained all this time, but then like quote unquote he somehow got out? I'm like, that little blaster still didn't do it. It was weird. Like that was inconsistent to us because they were using that blaster to keep him contained, but it didn't work anymore. It didn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's just a plot device to get him out of there.
And then Hemlock thought, well, let's go out and still get it. I'm like, bro, you don't need to focus on that anymore. Focus on the guys that are trying to like destroy your base.
Yeah. I will say
Project Necromancer, the project is more important than the Zilla Beast.
Yeah, I will say I gotta give credit where credit is due. I think his name Simpson, the voice actor for Hemlock.
Oh yeah.
But I'll have to look it up. But he does an awesome job of like being in the losing side of the battle, and you're just seeing how he's just trying to keep it together, right? He's just like he's doing his best as he knows like crap is not going well for him. He still is managing to keep his senses to him all the way to the very end. Like he is one of the better Star Wars villains I've seen in a while. I don't know if any of you guys agree with me.
No, you're right. Like he kind of reminds me of like a more menacing James Bond villain with that mad scientist, thing behind him. Like he like the glove. Like I love the glove action. Every time he would like be like talking, he put the glove up to his hand and like whatever he would do. That was pretty cool. I mean, he definitely wasn't physically imposing, but he was smart.
Yes.
And he was calculated, which and he was kind of quiet. So like those are some of the better villains who he doesn't need to be loud to be quote unquote a villain. He doesn't need to be a Two-Face or a Joker to say, "Oh, I'm a badass." he did a lot of good stuff, and he was in good favor with Palpatine for the most part. I mean, that's impressive. So you're doing something right when you
Yeah,
get to that status.
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
And the actor, real quick, the actor's name is Jimmy Simpson, so I think I put it together.
mm, yeah. See, I really enjoyed his character a lot. Like ever since he's been introduced, like I thought he's been a very good villain. To me, like out of just like the Imperials that just stand around and talk and give orders, I think he definitely brings kind of like that Tarkin feel to it, where it's like, he means business. Like you said, Milton, he's calculated, he's menacing. I mean, look, like I said, I just watched A New Hope yesterday, and like it's just still so crazy to think how like evil some of the Empire's villains are. Like, because like Tarkin literally is just like sitting there talking to Leia. It's like, oh, you're sorry, you're far too trusting. Let's just blow this planet to hell, and like just blows up a whole planet. And like it's just really nice seeing another villain in that sort of like role where like because Hemlock was really menacing in like that Tarkin way. So I really did enjoy his character for what it was. Like, I feel like you have Tarkin, you have Hemlock, you have like, those types of guys. Krennic was nice to an extent in Rogue One. So it's been good that we've been getting some more like expanded Imperial officers like kind of getting like the spotlight.
Oh yeah. Do you guys have any last thoughts on the finale? We'll give our last our scores here. All right. Well, I'll
Uh
start the. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I mean, I guess I'll start. I guess I'll start since I'm talking.
Sure.
Um, but anyways, I think overall the episode was really it was a really good, solid finale. Like I said, it wasn't my favorite finale of the animated series by any stretch, but it was a good, solid finale. You had some good action, you had some good story. You had some head scratching moments a little bit here and there, like the commando stuff was a little odd, Zillabeast a little odd, but you had good moments like the epilogue, of course, like the continuation of the story. Like, I really did like that they added in the Rebel pilot line from Omega versus just leaving it open ended of like Omega saying, I want to do something more, and then it like cuts and it's just super open ended. I like that it's like a really detailed open ended path for her, or a detailed path for her. Um, and then just overall, the characters I think were pretty good in this episode. I like that Echo survived. Emery was a really nice character pretty much throughout. I feel like she was a good, solid character, and she grew. And just overall, yeah, it was just a good, solid finale. For me, the finale I would say was an 8.6. And then overall, I think for this series as a whole, I really like it was kind of like a roller coaster ride with this series. I think you have like season one was solid because you can give it slack because it's the intro season. Season two was where we went into roller coaster, I mean cliff territory, where it'd be like good, whoa, like just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, like really whiplash. And then season three they amped it up and like improved the writing, improved the stories, and I just really feel like overall though for me for this series I would have to give the series a solid. I mean, like I said, the first two seasons are what they are, but this third season I think saved it more than anything. So I think I would have to give this entire series a really solid 7.8.
7.8. Good, good, good. I'll throw it over to Milton first or next.
Yeah. um. Overall, I thought, in my perspective, is different when it comes to the scoring because of how I watched it. For a two-parter for 14 and 15, I thought it was a good lead up into what the finale turned into. With that said, my score would probably be just for the finale itself. Again, finale, not the overall series.
Mm-hmm.
A good 6.5, 6.75. And that's because just I felt it was too inconvenient at times. There were some inconsistencies here or there. But overall, they concluded their story. So I can't complain about that. I felt I was looking for a more powerful finale like we got last season with season two, and even with how Clone Wars ended. in that series, and then even like season 2 of Rebels. You know, like just seeing those finales and knowing the capability of Filoni and his team, I felt this finale had stakes to it. It wrapped up the storylines, but it was just too convenient at times
Mm-hmm.
at how it ended. So that's where I think that 6 point, you know, 5 comes into mind. So again, that's not a bad 6.5. It's just overall how I viewed the episode. Overall, the series though, you're right. Season 3 saved it for sure. I thought it was a strong opening premiere of season 1. We all agreed on that. The first couple of episodes were solid. Then we got the Sid crap, you know, which kind
Yep.
of drugged the show here and there. Season 2 was up and down like a roller coaster, as Ben mentioned. But season 3 was a good 13-2. It won the championship. It just didn't have a great game 7. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? Like they got to the 7th game. They just had to make, you know, Jamal Murray jump shot to win the, you know, the series.
Yep.
You know, rest in peace to my Lakers losing in 5 games, you know, last week, unfortunately. But, you know, they got over the hump. They did their job. Overall, this was a good series. I think Dave Filoni hit another home run with the animations. Again, most of the time the animations don't do us wrong. You know, so that's a positive here. So for the series itself, I would say it's a good 7.5. I'll give it an 8. I'll give it an 8 out of 10 because season 3 really saved it. And I thought the premiere for season 1 was great. I thought the back half of season 2 was really good.
You know what? One quick thing to throw in there with yours, Milton. I'll bump mine from a 7.8 to an 8 as well, just for the fact the point 2 is going to come strictly from no Sid saving the day in the finale. So I'll bump it up to an 8 for mine.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
Well, here's the thing. Though. I think though having no Sid in the season really helped it because it had been pointless. What I'm like, Sid betrayed him at one point, didn't she, last season?
Yep.
And it's like every time we see her, it's like, oh my god, like you're just killing the momentum. And I felt this is why it's an 8. This season's momentum was a through line.
Mm-hmm.
Like even with that hiccup in episode 2, in my opinion, season 3 was a through line. It was fairly consistent.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, all great thoughts. All great thoughts. I'm going to echo a lot of what you're all saying. For my perspective on this episode, hey, I still think it's maybe not as good as a Clone Wars finale, but it's definitely better than Rebels and Resistance. So, I mean, it again, saying what I said at the beginning, it closed up a lot of plot lines in really satisfying ways that I didn't see coming, frankly. Everything was dialed up to 10, right? Animation, oh my gosh, we even mentioned the music. The music is just off the charts. What the Kiners did with the series in general is just these guys are great, and it's awesome to know that they have been doing live action, finally getting recognized for all their great, amazing work when it comes to the animation, and just really emotional storytelling. Again, like building these characters in this finale to hit me in the feels and go, like, yeah, these characters are awesome, and it's great to see them getting a really nice, happy ending. So I'm gonna give it a 9.5 out of 10, docking 5 points basically for killing off Scorch. Nothing's perfect, but hey, yeah, that's one little nitpick I have. It's probably closer to a 10 than anything else for me. As far as the whole series, this is a great chapter in the Star Wars timeline. Simply put, what happens with the clones that we don't see them in New Hope? And we majorly get that answered in here. Just everything with how they're being treated, how the galaxy looks on the clones. It's very great introspective of how the Republic transitions into the Empire, how the people are affected. We see many times, time again, about these people being infected by all this. It is just a great story that also shows you that, hey, if you have metachlorians, you don't have to be a Jedi either. I guess that's one of the things, like Omega, high M count, as they like to say. But yeah, we don't really see that paying off, and I'm guessing that's just because she's not going to be one right now. Maybe later on, but this story in a Bad Batch wasn't about that. It was about getting her to safety, getting her to learn how to be a leader. And it's a lot about how you learn from those around you and how you can take those lessons and apply them, and about how everybody, like, a lot of it has to say about like being defective too, right? Like, these guys all have like little things, little quirks about them. I even liked how in season 2 they talked about Tech being like neurodivergent or like kind of like on the spectrum to a certain degree. So I know like this story actually resonated with a lot of people uh like him, right? So it's really good at like the series, like in a meta kind of sense of like getting others to see themselves in these characters, which is always a huge thing for Star Wars, is to like have representation. So for doing that, for doing some awesome Clone Wars action, some awesome military action, we're not relying on Jedi. We're not relying on these big heroes that we see in A New Hope or anything like that. The story is at its best when it's focused on this small little family, this small little group of clones making their way as mercenaries across the galaxy. And when we first got the announcement of this series, I was kind of scratching my head, as many others were, like, really, you're giving us a story about those guys from a couple Clone Wars episodes? Like, we could get so much other stuff. Why are you going with this? And now I've seen where they were going with it. Having seen the entire story now, I'm happy we got this because we got some of the coolest moments in Star Wars. One of Milton's favorite moments when we go with the Emperor turning things on Rampart there, and citing the Stormtrooper Corps into its fruition, and just awesome moments, right? Spread throughout action moments, sometimes just moments that are quieter that have such large branching out into the timeline. So, yeah, this is not our final discussion on the Bad Batch, right? We were going to talk about this until we keep doing this podcast, I'm sure, right? Years in the future, we'll be citing moments from the Bad Batch and different things. And, you know, as a wise senator said, I look forward with great interest, look forward
Yeah.
to Omega's career with great interest, seeing what's going on there. I know we have just a few minutes left with Milton, so before we have to part ways with you, man. I just want to get into a quick, kind of like fast fire kind of discussion. Not even discussion, just real quick initial thoughts on what you've seen of Tales of the Empire. I know you're fresh watching that earlier today.
Yeah. Am I allowed to use like an F bomb?
All right,
Can
just
I can
one. We're like Disney. You can only
one?
use like one in the film at a time.
Just one. I appreciate it. That's why I wanted to ask. It was fucking awesome. Okay, like I listen. I watched it this afternoon. Now, obviously, I was hyped from the trailer when it came out because let before I get to this, the Tales of the Jedi when that came out 2 years ago was amazing. I rewatched that like 3 times in like a week
Mm.
because I remember we went to Virginia that weekend and I made my brother watch it because he was like, "Yo, this is fire, dude." I'm like, "Yeah, bro, Dooku's badass." Get to see Yaddle and all them. Get to see young Liam Neeson. Ahsoka's stories, what like fleshed out. I'm thinking, oh, right. And I think we all clamored about they should do like a Tales of the Empire or like we were just
Mm-hmm.
throwing out member titles, Tales of this, Tales of that, blah blah blah. And this was a surprise because we didn't know this was coming out, right? No
Mm-mm.
one knew about Empire.
Mm.
Mm-mm.
So that's why I think when after watching this today, so good. Morgan Elsbeth, bro, fire. Like I love her character. I
Mm.
love her character from showing her as a child with Grievous just wiping him out. I mean,
Oh
in the
man.
Grievous was bro. And he's a joke half the time, but like
Mm-hmm.
in this one, he was Michael Myers, bro.
Yep.
Yep.
They made him like Michael Myers, where he just was like, nah, you can, or Jason Voorhees, you can shoot at him, he ain't going down.
They turned him back
Um,
into Tartakovsky Clone Wars Grievous.
Yeah.
I was about,
That's what it
that's
is.
how I felt. I'm like, yeah, this one ain't the jokey one. He's like,
Hmm.
like, it was actually the episode when they captured Palpatine. They made him super scary in that episode. I'm like, oh, that's
Yep.
how it felt. Um, so I thought that first episode was solid. I thought it was really good. Episode 2, whenever she is that when she's showing off the technology to the Empire
Mm-hmm.
and Thrawn shows up. Perfect. And I'm thinking, oh, that's a great introduction of how her and Thrawn hooked up and how it was written made so much sense about how Thrawn's calc. He's like, listen, I foresee the cracks in the Empire. I foresee if we go down this route, it's going to be the demise. And it happened. He was right. And he's like, I can foresee this, and that. We just got to do this to counteract that. He's always thinking 15 moves ahead. Clearly, Palpatine and him weren't on the same wavelength, which makes you think, why wasn't he Grand Moff Tarkin? Because he probably would have been better in that role than Tarkin was. No disrespect. I mean, think about it. And obviously seeing her in the third episode when she's the magistrate of the Mandalorian verse, and how like she's just cold and calculated and just don't care. And I'm like, okay. And then you see how it connects into Ahsoka's show. So I'm just like, oh my god, they did a good job with that. And then the second half, which was Barriss Offee, bro, I always thought she was a waste of a character, but then I'm thinking, oh my god, like they got me liking her now. And how they just fleshed her out in 45 minutes. If you can do that in 45 minutes, you won me over. I love this show. It was well written. The fighting was amazing. The visuals stunning. The music, bro. Does Kiner have like his whole family doing this?
Yeah.
Did you see it was Kevin Kiner, some other Kiner, I'm like, damn, they got the whole Kiner clan just making all the Star Wars music. Like, why doesn't he just inherit John Williams' role when John decides to no longer be Star Wars?
Maybe he will.
Yeah, dude, I got nothing but good things to say about this show. And man, it's very rewatchable, and that's the thing. If you get me to rewatch it, you got me hooked.
Dude, I this is what I love about the Star Wars fandom is being able to bask in the joy of others when they find something that they just latch onto. Because we all have those things, right? For me, it's like Shadows of the Empire, Jedi Survivor, Jedi Fallen Order. For Milton over there, it's Tales of the Jedi, and we know now Tales of the Empire are his things, right? So it's really fun to see the passion in others that, especially like when people are like, oh, I found this new character I really love, like Barriss Offee or Morgan Elsbeth. Like, I absolutely love that, man. That's awesome. I agree with you.
It's crazy, like, bro, I mean, because literally, like, the when you saw her going through the Inquisitor training, I'm thinking, okay, it made you think, okay, because of what happened in Clone Wars, she's going to comply. And you're like, okay, she kills old boy, she becomes a fourth sister, and then in episode 2, you're like, wait a minute, like, she really is using them to a means to an end. She believes in their cause, but not the way to do it. But then she's like, well, nah, this ain't my path. I'm gonna axe out old girl and just go on a run. And how that whole thing came in full circle, where she gets stabbed and the Lynn is redeemed, but they kind of leave you in an oblivious state of like, does Barriss live? That type of thing, or does she die? Like, I was like, man, like I was waiting for chapter 4 for that to start.
Yeah,
it was that good. I was like, really, oh my god, like this is fire, bro. Like Dave Filoni, man, like he's that dude. He's that dude, especially when it comes to the animation.
Well, Milton, just to throw in there on your point about Dave, a cool little just nod to even the Legends fans out there. In the second episode with Morgan Elsbeth, that whole Mountain Clan thing.
Yeah.
That whole thing was literally pulled right from the Courtship of Princess Leia, like the big Legends book.
Really?
Like that's literally where Luke and Leia and Han are.
What?
They go to that's literally a big part of that book. So It's cool just seeing Dave pull from Legends, because the whole Mountain Clan thing that was first introduced in the Courtship of Leia. Yeah. And all that stuff. So that's something else out there as well, Milton, just like appreciating like how Dave pulls from Legends.
I was about to say, that's why I like him so much. And this is why I used to get so frustrated with Kathleen. It's like, don't tell us you don't got the material. Again, and anyone who could correct me if I'm wrong, she said this at a celebration. I kid you not. She said, or some article, we're not Marvel or DC or something. We don't got the history like they do to pull from the comics. And I'm just like, what?
Yeah, I think that was the 40th.
Back in the 70s. Or they started writing the novelizations back in the 70s. Splinter of the Mind's Eye was the sequel at the time before Empire came out. That's how far they go back with these books. And for Dave to sit there and say, hey, I'm going to pull this from a canon or a Legends book where this could tie in organically into the Night Sisters storyline, bro, chef's
Yeah.
effing kiss all day.
Well,
I mean,
even
I
in that
love that.
episode alone,
Love
look,
it.
I mean, we have already seen him, in Rebels, but it's great. Like, look, he's pulled Rook into things, and Rook was Thrawn's bodyguard in the Heir to the Empire trilogy. So it's just great seeing like Dave be that involved. And like, anytime I see like those Legends references in Star Wars stuff, I always think of you, Milton, because I know you always love like a lot of those like Legends
Love it.
like callbacks from Dave.
Yeah. And look, I know, and let's be real here. I tell anybody who especially my one buddy Chris always shits on me about how much I love like legends and all that type of stuff, and I know not everything will work in the new canon of Star Wars for Disney. I know that you have to probably rework a lot of things, but there are obvious things that will work from the Legends book if you actually would open your eyes and see it. It's all there. I mean, look, one story that we know should really be canon that isn't is Darth Plagueis. That book should be canon when we all know it. It's organically
I
there to fit in the universe of Star Wars right now.
I literally have talked to two people in the last week about Plagueis that I didn't like. I ran into a guy at the comic shop yesterday, a friend of mine from middle school. I didn't even recognize the guy, and he said, "Oh, I watch your videos." I'm like, "Oh, cool. Who are you?" And he's like, "You went to school." I'm like, "Okay, cool." And then within 5 minutes, he's telling me about um, why isn't Plagueis like adapted into a Star Wars? I'm like, I consider him more of a casual fan. I'm pretty sure he's more of a casual
Yeah,
fan, and he's even talking about Plagueis. And my other friend, my coworker, was talking about Plagueis 3 days ago after we seen Phantom Menace. It's like apparently this is not just a niche thing. Like a lot of people know about this story.
dude, that book is that good. Like, and
Yep.
it organically fits in the current Star Wars regime now. Do you have to maybe tweak some things? Sure. But hell, you can retcon it and we don't care. You can give us the same exact book, we don't care. It still fits. Because
Yeah.
it's such a great story and it organically fits into the Phantom Menace and what led up to it. Hell, it probably fits into the Acolyte stuff that's going to be coming out soon. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, man. Like, it's again, Dave Filoni and Favreau and those guys when they are locked in, and I'll give Carrie Hart or Carrie Beck her credit, and
Yep.
I'll give oh boy Pablo his credit when he actually is locked in, and even Kathleen when they're locked in and they pay attention about okay, what's the best to cherry pick from these stories to organically fit in our current what we want to tell. It's gorgeous. Look at Kevin Feige. He does it all the time. He's like, yes, we're telling our story of the MCU, and I'm talking about prime MCU from Iron Man to the third Spider-Man. Like he took the best of those stories to tell his version, but he said, hey, this may not fit in our current MCU, but this could, and we can maybe adapt it this way, even though it's very recognizable for fans who are true hardcore comic book Marvel sweaties. And it
Well,
worked for those 10, 11 years.
oh, for sure. I mean, like it's just nice, like you said, seeing when they lock in and do something good. Like they lock in and do something good. That's one of the best parts about like the Tales series, and it's nice. I feel like the good thing with the Tales series, guys, is like, they go into it knowing it's isolated as one three-part and three-part story.
Mm.
So it's capped
Yeah.
where, you don't have the pressure of like, okay, like in Mando, what do we do in Mando season 4? What do we do in Mando season 5? Like versus we have 3 episodes, tell the story in 3 episodes, or you're not going to be able to tell your story. So it's nice that like they have it's almost like kind of like a pseudo deadline. Like you have to get the story told in that time period. So I really like that. I do want to add in there though as well, Chris. I know you and me will expand more on our like Tales thoughts. And I know like Milton, you have to go in a few, but I just wanted to like throw in here as just a little aside. If you don't mind, Chris, what are your initial like thoughts and reactions on the Acolyte trailer? Since you won't be on here for like our full like
Yeah.
breakdown.
I, I I'm intrigued with the show. I think the trailer has me more intrigued than excited. I mean, obviously, I love Jedi, I love Sith, I love seeing lightsabers. I think we all do. That all gets us going as Star Wars fan. Let's be real here. But because I'm not super familiar with what they're trying to tell us, I'm more intrigued.
Mhm.
I think the trailers have been. I think they've done their job and not given us too much.
Mm.
Does that make sense? Like, I feel like it's like okay, there it's a mystery.
Yeah.
Something's going to happen. Someone's coming. This is going to affect Star Wars in a way where it's going to start, I guess, opening up to what we know or leading to what we know of Star Wars. Um, so I'm intrigued. I couldn't even tell you if I'm excited yet until I see like the first. Is it a 2 episode or 3 episode premiere?
2.
2 episodes.
2 episodes. So once I see the 2 episode premiere, I think I'll be able to gauge about how I feel and moving forward with it. But right now, I'm intrigued and I'm going to watch it. We're going to talk about it. Hopefully they do right. I think Chris, this is probably your realm of Star Wars compared to us. This is Old Republic era.
High Republic, yeah. So
High
about
Republic.
100
Oh, High
years
Republic. Okay, High Republic.
before Phantom Menace. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So like High Republic era. So I think we're going to be very cautious or curious about what you're going to think because you read all the books and you
Mm-hmm.
know about this universe of Star Wars compared to us. So hopefully they do it justice to where I can walk into an episode. You can say, hey, they actually got a lot of things accurate here. They got the tone right, blah, blah, blah. Because if I start seeing like this is not looking consistent to what you've told us, that could be an issue.
Mm. Yeah, it certainly can. It certainly can. So, um, can you tell the people where they can find you online? We'll be back, I guess, next week. Although it is Mother's Day.
Yeah.
So we should have had this
Oh,
meeting
no,
before we recorded.
no, I honestly, I don't think there's nothing happening next week.
Oh, okay.
I mean, if it is, it's happening during the day, so
Oh,
it's
okay.
all good.
All right.
I still should be available next week, and we'll
Yeah.
talk about that then. But um, you can find me on X at Milton Weber 7 or on Instagram at Milton7Weber. At especially at Instagram, I do like memes, sports, fitness stuff, wrestling. You know, because I love wrestling. You know, WrestleMania. Let's go. Um, but yeah, you can find me on those platforms. Hit me up. I'll talk Star Wars. I'll talk whatever. Just keep it positive because if you're not, I'll smack you, delete you, block you, all that good stuff. 'Cause I ain't got time for it, bro. I'm grown. I got real life problems to worry about.
For
So,
real.
but yeah, man, just love talking Star Wars, and I'm excited for the potential of other animations. Like I think I can't wait until we get more animations. I love it. You know me. I'm all about it.
Yeah.
I can't wait till they do a Visions season 3 Visions. Can't wait till they do another Tales of what they better not do a Tales of the Droids. I ain't watching that.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be trash.
Speaking of which,
I ain't watching.
real quick. Speaking of talk about Tales of Droids, I was a guest on Steven Schinder's Delayed Replay podcast earlier in this week. He released the episode on May the 4th yesterday, where we go into improv about the droid story that was announced in 2020, but it never happened. So me and him are just like coming up with like improv of what that story is, but we never got it. So go ahead, check that out. I shared it on my socials and all that. But yeah, and just for transparency, over the next 2 weeks, we're going to be talking about each character in Tales of the Empire. So next week we'll be talking about Morgan Elsbeth, and the week after we'll be taking a deep dive into the Bear Safi episode. So this is not the last of our short little tiny little discussion on Tales of the Empire, because there certainly is so much to get in there. But yeah, thanks so much for joining us, man.
It's no problem. Yeah, for sure. Like I said, it's definitely if you haven't seen it yet, it's definitely rewatchable. It's again that makes the Star Wars animation so good. Like it's very much rewatchable, and you don't get bored with it. The only one I haven't rewatched was Resistance because I didn't even watch like the first like season, barely. But like everything else though, it's been a hit, man. And I don't know what about the animation department. They do such a good job with their animation, and it's that storytelling, bro. Like they write a lot of better than live action Hollywood. Like it's crazy. But I don't know. That's Dave. That's Kiri. I mean, I gotta give Kathleen her flowers too. Like she does a good job at allowing those guys to do their work. So I appreciate it.
Yeah. I got to shout out Corbett and Ral as well, because those guys are the ones steering the ship on Bad Batch, and you got to give them the accolades. Anything that those guys are attached to from here on out, I'm gonna be paying close attention to them.
Facts. Yeah, Kevin Kiner. Yeah, I'm saying you make the animations fire with that music, bro.
Heck yeah.
But no, I appreciate it, fellas. Thanks for having me on the podcast. Enjoy the rest of the night. Kill it. I'm sure I'll be listening while I'm finishing up the rest of my night. So
There we go. We'll catch you next week, man.
Yep. See it.
All right. Yeah, so I guess we'll give our thoughts then on the episode or the episodes real quick with Tales of the Empire. What do you think of them?
Yeah, for me, all right, so for me, I think this show, like the Tales concept, is a really good style of show for Star Wars in general. Because, like Milton was saying, you can go Tales of the Empire, Tales of the Jedi, Tales of the Sith, Tales of the Bounty Hunters, do all kinds of sorts of things with that. Um, so I like that they continued the concept. I think the Morgan Elsbeth episodes were good. Like for all the reasons Milton mentioned, Grievous, the Legends callbacks like Rook and the Mountain Clan and those things, and then just Thrawn and her meeting, and then even her entrance onto Corvus and going through all that sort of stuff. Like that was great. I really liked the way like Milton was saying, they made her really menacing and really laid her out as a villain. And then for the second three parts, for the Barris parts, I really liked, like I think these three parts were the better ones. Like for me, like I think I mentioned it in our chat, I like the Morgan episodes to me were just like a good Clone Wars arc, like a solid Clone Wars arc. And then the Barris stuff I think was good. It was better than the Morgan stuff to a degree where, it's just a character we've wondered about for a long time. A character, it's like, oh my gosh, she's turning into an Inquisitor, and like, what's she gonna do with this like little kid? All these things, like, they make her like a menacing threat, and then like they they turn her good, and it's just like, I think the way it ended was, you and I were messaging about it, Chris. Like, I think this is just like our part. It's not even nitpicking. I think it's honestly just a misplaced foreshadowing by just the way the story played out. Because like you have Vader come in literally just for a second cameo, basically, and then the way the marketing was played out, it made it seem like Vader was going to actually be a big booming part of this stuff, like involved with the Inquisitors and Barris. And then like even when you get to the end of it, when all this fog's going on and Lynn's going in this cave, all these things, etc., it just makes you think like, okay, is all of a sudden are we going to see Vader come walking out of the fog or something at the end of this, like kind of like Rebels, like the end, like when Vader comes walking out against Ahsoka, like are we going to get something like that or something or another where Vader wants to like take out the Inquisitor that's being a traitor, like and especially be like for me anyways, and I'm sure for like a lot of us who are like really inside baseball and Star Wars, that would have been really like symbolic for like Vader getting revenge on Barris for messing up Ahsoka. Like, it would have been like symbolic in a way for him taking out a bad Inquisitor or a traitorous Inquisitor, but also symbolic for Anakin as well, taking out someone who like did his apprentice wrong. And I think to me, more than anything, it's not like a huge like pull the rating on these episodes down a lot. It's more just a missed opportunity for Vader. Like we always talk about like, like, oh my gosh, they, like Vader this, Vader that. But usually, I mean, for the most part, anytime we've brought in Vader to anything, it's been a pretty big like pop. And this time it was just like, oh, he just comes in and sits down and just chills, and it's like, that's it. Versus like, maybe getting. I mean, we've seen Dave do it before. Look at Rebels when Vader fights, Kanan and Ezra, like those type of things. We've seen Vader be incredible in animation, and it's just like, I think it was just a major missed opportunity there, especially not even, like I said, not even just being a hardcore fan, just based on the foreshadowing, the way the episodes were going, and the marketing. I really thought they were going to end Tales of the Empire with a Vader moment, and it was just like, they passed on it.
Yeah, no, good assessment. Good assessment. Yeah, I mean, with Morgan Elsbeth stuff, that seems like a lot of fan service. Obviously, the whole thing is fan service with what's going on. But
Yeah.
Going back to the Clone Wars, like there was some very effective stuff in there with Grievous, and again, like Milton was saying, like he was a complete badass, like a somebody straight out of a slasher movie, just offing characters left and right. And I will say,
Yeah.
in general, the series it's more of a mature series because oh my gosh, what Lynn does, killing all those innocents with a saber, like that was hardcore. I
That
was
that
not
was like that
expecting.
was akin going back to Clone Wars when Maul just takes out that village of people. Like that was literally akin
Mm.
to that.
Yeah, yeah. So the Morgan Elsbeth stuff, like it came and went because it was like really, it was very interesting, very fascinating. But I think the last episode of that was the weakest for me. It was really neat
Mm.
seeing for the first time like New Republic stuff in animation. We haven't seen that before. But it was kind of like, oh, I hate to say the phrase was that necessary, but I kind of had that going in my brain of like, what did I get out of that I already didn't know about the character kind of thing. So for me, it was just like, oh, it's a nice like little convenient prequel, like going right into the Ahsoka episode with that transmitter going off. And then the Bears Offie episodes were really good. I mean, I was really engaged. I read the Delilah S. Dawson book, which was Inquisitor Rise of the Red Blade. Seen a lot of iconography from that book in this. The whole thing with Nern, I think it is, the planet, the
Yep.
Fortress Inquisitorius being built. That was awesome. Like, just seeing how far in the timeline you are. And just the differences between how Barris deals with getting information juxtaposed to the fear that Lynn is imposing on the people of that city to get the information. I thought that was a really evocative, important part. But I feel for the internet. I feel for all the Star Wars fans out there that have been wanting Barris Offee in something for the longest time. And it's almost like, I think maybe you said this, like they brought her back in this just so they could, silence people on any
Yep.
future speculation
I
on, oh,
think.
is that Barris Offee? Because that's constantly been the thing over the last 5 years. Anybody with a mask has to be Barris Offee,
Oh
including
yeah.
Marak, who ends up showing up in this.
Yeah. I think. I really do think. I mean, obviously this is Dave's series and stuff, and I do think the thing is with Dave though. I'll have to point out there, like when it comes to like I mean his animation writing is really good, like storytelling, etc. Like, but usually when it comes to his like force type characters like Jedi Sith, they're always on point. And like this was another example, like Barriss, Lynn, all these characters in this arc were on point 100%. Um and like you said, like I said, I really do think Dave did this. I mean, he might have did this on of course he would never admit it, but I think he did this because maybe in Ahsoka season 2, maybe in the Mando movie, maybe in Skeleton Crew, who knows, maybe in Skeleton Crew, we have a new character with a mask, something or another, and Dave was like, you know what, let's just take Barriss off the board so people don't get their expectations sky high for Barriss to be the one in the Mandoverse, and she's not. So like, I just kind of like, I don't want to say look at it cynically, I look at it kind of skeptically, where it's like, I think Dave was calculated on this and said, okay, let's give her a solid ending, which her ending was solid.
Mhm.
Like we said, we wish it would have been Vader and, more maybe action packed with him or something. But they gave her a fine ending, a good ending to a character. And then it takes her off the board so fans aren't like, oh my gosh, is it Barriss? Is it Barriss? Is it Barriss? Like, because we're going to get another masked character in Mando season, or in the Mando movie probably, or in Skeleton Crew coming up at the end of this year, or, these sorts of things. Like, we're going to get more masked characters in Dave Filoni content. So I think he really just wanted to take her off the board.
Yeah. So yeah, there was that. There was that. I mean, it was interesting to get these stories. It really was. Getting a look into the Inquisitors because that has been something that has been largely focused on over the last couple of years, especially with the Vader comics in 2017 kind of blew open the door on what that lore was like, and then we get to see it again in Fallen Order with literally somebody being transformed into Inquisitor. We get to see how that's like the transformation. And then we get like the animated version, right? So there's a lot of material now, really expanding this, but then getting to see the character. So Yeah, overall, I really enjoyed these. I still don't know if I like Tales of the Jedi better or not. I'm kind of
I
like
think
on the fence, you know.
I think I think personally with me, I think all right. If I had to rank them, it'd be um, Dooku arc, Ahsoka arc, Barris arc, and then Morgan arc. If I had to put them in order,
Mm, yeah.
just because I just think the Dooku one is just so outstanding because it it hits all the check marks for a Star Wars fan. I think it hits your cameos, because cameos, no matter what Star Wars fans say, like I always love chatter online with Star Wars fans. They're like, oh, cameos, blah blah blah, complain about cameos. But then if there's no cameos, people are mad. So like I think the Dooku arc was excellent because you had your cameos, like you had your Qui-Gon, you had your obviously Dooku, young Dooku, and then you have the time period, Phantom Menace, you have Yaddle, you have all these things, and you have action, you have an intriguing story, you have Dooku being kind of like that on the line Jedi or turning Sith character, and I just think that arc hits every checkbox more than even the other three arcs. So yeah, that's kind of like my ranking. It's like Dooku, Ahsoka, Barris, and then Morgan.
Hmm. Yeah, I think I'm along the same lines. I would actually say Dooku, Barris, Morgan, and Ahsoka, just because that one episode with Ahsoka with the lightsaber training, it just didn't add enough for me, so that almost was like a nullifying effect.
Mm.
um, but hey, like I said, we're gonna get into these episodes three at a time over the next 2 weeks. The next two episodes, we'll be talking about those. So I want to leave a lot more room to discuss those because
I'll,
we
I'll be
are
right. I'll be right back in like 1 minute.
sure thing. So yeah, we're gonna go right into the news. We have a lot of news stories to go over. Everything from Star Wars games to Star Wars Celebration updates to everything that's going around with the Phantom Menace in theaters. And of course, we'll be talking about the Acolyte clip, the Acolyte trailer, Acolyte art. We are in official March to Acolyte as one series ends. As one series came out all in one day, the gaze immediately like focuses like the Eye of Sauron over to the Acolyte. So the first thing we're going to be talking about is Star Wars Hunters gets a release date and a trailer. This is finally happening, everybody. This is that little mobile game that is happening over there on Nintendo Switch and phones. We got a nice little trailer out that just announces it's coming out the same day as the Acolyte, actually. So while you're waiting for the Acolyte, which I think comes out on that Tuesday night at 9 p.m., at least on Eastern time, it will. You could sit there playing Hunters on your Switch or on your phone. So I don't know what's happened because you could be playing this game in other countries for the last like almost a year, it seems like. I know launching a mobile live service game is not easy. I mean, I don't know personally, I don't make games, but I can only imagine that they are, especially when it comes to the monetization, right? It's a free to play game, so they're going to be charging you for things like skins, and hopefully they don't, have power or anything. Hopefully it's just aesthetic and it's just cosmetic. But from what I played, I did play it over at Star Wars Celebration 2022 in Anaheim. I played that game all the way back then. I played it on the phone. It is really fun. It's a good action game. It's basically Star Wars's version of Fortnite or, Apex Legends. Not the exact gameplay, but that's what they're going for. Like that kind of game that's going to be constantly updated, adding new characters, adding new maps, adding new skins you could buy. There's not going to be any story, so it's just like, hey, go in, play with your friends on a Friday night, and have some fun, and then go on to your next game, right? So, yeah, I was just talking about Star Wars Hunters, Ben, about how they
Yep.
finally got a release date and how we got a trailer, my experience playing the game, all that good stuff. So I don't know if you have anything to add to this.
Yeah, I mean, I did the pre-download already because you can do that on iPhone, and I'm sure you probably can do that on Android as well, I'd assume. But I did that just to check it out because for me with that game, it feels like we've been waiting forever on it for one. But for two, it just like you and I were talking about in our group chat about this whole thing. Like it just to me, it seems like it's a game. You'll just play casually here and there, maybe that sort of thing. So I'm interested just to see how like quick the matches are, and yeah, like I don't know. I mean, it's a mobile game, so I'm not sure what exactly to expect either. And then I think overall, the only thing I thought about that kind of makes me a little antsy with the game is they're releasing it the same day the Acolyte comes out. So it's like, is this because like they're just going to sweep this game under the rug with the Acolyte getting released? That's the only
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
that's the only concern with me, because normally, normally we see that with TV shows. Look at like when a company doesn't have faith in a show, they kind of just like sweep it under the rug under another big release or something. So
Yeah.
like, I mean, we've seen that happen even, with the Bad Batch, like, unintentionally, but like some of the biggest Mando episodes just squished the Bad Batch into, into the dust. So it's just like they, that's my only like little concern that I thought about the other day. I was like, oh man, it's coming out basically the same time as the Acolyte. It's like,
Yeah.
uh-oh.
Yeah.
So yeah, so like I don't know. I'm just going into I'm skeptically optimistic. Like I hope it's good, but like I said, I just don't know what to expect because it's a mobile game. Like there's so many different mobile games. Some mobile games are great. Other ones are just you play it one time and then delete the app. So it's literally just a coin toss, I think.
Yeah, the thing about this is not only is there the Acolyte coming out, but there's going to be a lot of people jumping into what is probably going to be the last expansion for Destiny 2.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a long-lived game for like a decade, going back to Destiny 1, and this is going to complete the Light Darkness saga, as they call it. So that is going to be a big deal for people like myself that are going to be playing that game over Hunters probably. And the good thing about Hunters, as I was saying before you sat down, is like this is the kind of game where you could play like 2 or 3 matches in a round and be like, I'm good. It's not like Fallen Order or Jedi Survivor where you're going to be investing 20, 30 hours into a really well told story and then you have to like share time with something else. Like this is a game that's meant to be played like on the go, which is why it's on mobile, especially. But unlike games like Galaxy of Heroes, like this game is actually be fun to play. Sorry, but like that game is just a money creating device, like a money spending device. Like Galaxy Heroes is set up so you spend money to get some kind of dopamine release. There is no joy in actually playing the game. It's just, hey, I want to get this new character. Will I take 6 months to lock them, or I could pay $20 to get them right now? This game is
Yep.
not going to be that. This game is actually going to be like an Overwatch style, like active. Like you actually have to play the game, not just sit back and watch your guys just duke it out on the screen, doing the repeated same moves over and over again. But yeah, I mean, this is the game that Lucasfilm should have had for the last 3 or 4 years now, in my opinion. Had they not canceled Battlefront 2, Battlefront 2 would have been still probably around to this day, and they would have been updating stuff for people to buy like the new characters with money and stuff like that. Like, I'm just surprised that Star Wars is this late in the game on being in that live service Call of Duty, Fortnite, Apex Legends, Overwatch game, because this is a big deal in the gaming community. I mean, the thing is also how much traction will this have? Because we constantly talk about this in the gaming industry about there's so many games that are battling for our time right now. Right? I'm currently playing Assassin's Creed Mirage. But then like an update for Sea of Thieves came out earlier last week. And then we're going to be talking about it next, but like Fortnite has got a huge update, and then in a week and a half, Starfield is getting a huge patch, which is going to like recontextualize the game, and then Diablo 4 is getting an entire rework the same week. This is what I'm saying, like in a time where like every week, if you're not a really great game, people are going to instantly just go to the next thing and just leave you in the dust. So they got to make sure they've delayed this game often enough that I hope that they just feel this is the time. They're confident that this is going to hopefully stick with people,
Yeah, well, that's how gaming is. Like, if you don't capture the person's attention within the first time of touching the controller and playing, like, they're on to the next game, basically. I mean, like, I already know for me, going into July, beginning of July is NCAA coming out for the first time in 10 years. I know all of July and most of August, my attention is only going to be on NCAA. And then Madden comes out end of August, early September. So I know in the fall I'm going to be playing Madden and NCAA as well, probably. And like those games, you know, it's like live service ultimate team modes where there's daily content and it's like engaging stuff. So you have to be on the game to play it. So it's like my attention will be split to those games. So it's like, I hope Hunters is intriguing enough where it's like it pulls my attention away. Like that's the hope for any Star Wars game, in my opinion, is like I want it to be good enough where it pulls your attention away. Like that's how it was when I played the first Jedi game. You know, it was a really good game. Sat down, grinded it out in a day or whatever, and you know had a great time with it. And I didn't think about other games. And like that's what we need in the gaming spheres. You just need a game that'll capture your attention and play it. I mean, I know that's how it was back during like the pandemic time. I went and I played through the Halo, the first 3 Halo games again. And like those games, you know, they capture your attention. Even though they're old games, they capture your attention because they're really good stories and things. So so yeah, I hope Hunters does that, but it's just kind of like a wait and see.
Yeah. So again, that's going to be coming out in less than a month's time. So just hold on a little bit longer for that game. We'll finally get our hands on it. One last bone to pick. I was really hoping with this announcement they would just sneak in, oh, it's going to be on Steam, Xbox, and PlayStation. But alas, I'm going to be kind of crouching over this tiny little phone here. Here we go. I got my phone. I'll be like, I'm playing this game on this little screen. I hate playing games, on the screen like that. But
well, just to throw in there with you on that, like not even the console side of things, even on the mobile side of gaming, you got to get my attention on mobile because I don't play really any games too much on mobile anymore, just because I like the console feel. But when I do play mobile, I'll tell you right now, the main mobile game I have on my phone right here, I'm looking at it on my front page, is still fire up Pokemon Go every now and then. Like when we're out and about, I'll fire up Pokemon Go, and you know, that's still active. Like, and I know I saw Pokemon Go has an update. I think it's in May or it might be in June, but they have an update coming up where it's like they're gonna do a season where it's gonna be like the original, like the Indigo region from season 1 of Pokemon, the original 150 or something. So like that's coming up soon. So like you even have competitive mobile games like that are going to be competing with Hunters as well. Because like for me being 30, like you see Pokemon season 1 coming back to Pokemon Go, you're like, ooh, I might have fired that up here and there when I'm out and about. And like, you know, I still fire that game up. So like you got to get my attention even away from that to say the least.
Heck yeah. Oh wow, I guess the chat updated somehow. And I didn't see it because there's been a lot of comments that have come in since. We have Alex Elkins is talking about Bad Batch, absolutely amazing finale. Love this season, so much better than season 2. Skywalker's Academy is coming in with the world building and character arcs. Leave me with a 9 out of 10 overall. So we got a couple of things coming in there. Yeah. Oh, and Skywalker's Academy is going to see TPM in an hour. So
awesome.
There we go. People are still trickling in. We'll be getting to that story in a little bit. Sticking on with games though, I mentioned it, Fortnite. I'll probably be playing it after the stream. So, or if you guys are want to power up with me on Epic Games, my name is just like it's spelled on the YouTube channel, Star Raptor. Feel free to party up. Yeah, Fortnite has had a Star Wars invasion. It is Star Wars invasion time. They do this every year. Last year they had this cool battle pass where you can get a Coruscant guard at the end. But if you're not aware, Fortnite is not just a single experience. Fortnite is like kind of an umbrella, if you will, like of many experiences, right? You not only have your battle royale or classic mode, but since December they have their own like kind of like kart racing, Mario Kart.
It's like an arcade
thing. It really is. They have that. They have Lego Fortnite. And they also have Festival, which is basically Rock Band. You have your mic, you have your guitarist, your keyboardist, and you have your drummer. So of course, like they're gonna have a bunch of new skins. I already got one, and the new one I got was the Death Trooper, and it's very interesting because here we go. Lucasfilm changed the name of a character, and I didn't even notice it happened until with Fortnite. So in the article they say AWR Trooper, and I'm like, what the hell is that? Apparently, that stands for Advanced Weapon Research Trooper. So they are sunsetting the name of Death Trooper, I guess, because I guess they feel like it's like too intense for kids. Kind of like how Slave One was retconned with the name. So I think going forward, we're gonna just get used to seeing AWR troopers everywhere. Doesn't take away from how cool they are. So yeah, I bought a Death Trooper. That's my skin now, and you also get the little miniature Lego version of them. So yeah, basically in battle, I'll run it through. In Battle Royale, you have these road checkpoints around the different roads where they have stormtroopers now, AI controlled stormtroopers. You kill them, you get their E11 blasters, which are like infinite ammo. They're really good. And if you kill enough stormtroopers at a roadblock, you free Chewbacca, who just appears out of nowhere, and then he actually follows you around. I'll be honest, Chewbacca is the best AI I've ever seen in a video game. Like AI companion. Like when you crouch, he crouches. If you're being stealthy, like he'll get down, he'll like duck behind cover. He was killing more players, dude, than I was. I couldn't get over it. Like Chewbacca was a tank. I got to number 2 out of 100 after not even playing Fortnite for like months. Like this is my second or third game. This is 0 build mode, by the way, but I couldn't believe it. Like I had the bowcaster and I was running around. I was killing quite a few people, but like Chewbacca would always just like own people. Like I don't know if they have to like tune him down or something, but it was like I kind of felt like I was cheating with Chewbacca, like following me around. But I was having an absolute ball with that, man. It was fantastic.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love seeing Fortnite the way they incorporate like all these different things, just because I really do feel like this year especially, I mean, you know, I'm sure everyone, all of our listeners and viewers can know or can tell, like we have so much to talk about. It's nice that like it feels like Star Wars actually for once leaned into the Star Wars week hype. And it's so nice like seeing this big update on Fortnite, like you said, the Battle Royale mode, the Lego mode, the Rock Band mode, basically like it's just great getting all of these different avenues for people to play Star Wars. Like I'm friends with a Madden YouTuber, and he was streaming on Twitch last night, and after he got done on Madden, he was playing some of the Star Wars Fortnite stuff actually. So like it's cool just seeing people that wouldn't typically engage with Star Wars content engage with it like that. So yeah, it's just nice seeing, you know, Star Wars get out there a little more.
Yeah, and then also in Lego Fortnite, I made a new character on a new world. It's like Minecraft, right? You make these worlds and you just start living in them. And I'm going through the tutorial that they usually have to go through. It's like, oh, you have to collect your stone. Oh, you have to collect your wood. Oh, make your first campfire. All that kind of stuff. You know, just basic crafting stuff. And all of a sudden I start hearing like weird like stuff that I don't know if it's a glitch because I'm looking at the sky. I'm like, why is there like weird like dimensional rift looking things like happening into the sky as the dialogue of the narration is going for the tutorial? I'm like, that's kind of weird. And it starts happening more frequently. And next thing you know, the sky opens up and a freaking Star Destroyer on fire rushes through this portal, and there's all these TIE fighters and X-Wings, and it starts, you know, Star Wars music. It's like really like tense. And like you see the Star Destroyer just like like flying overhead and crashing. And of course, you immediately just say, I'm going in that direction, even though I have like no items or anything. I just start running my AWR trooper over there, and then I find this cavern of like these rebel troopers, you know, with like the Navy rebel troopers with the helmets, like just standing guard at this cave. I go in there, and it's like this whole like rebel base, and that's as far as I got. But that to me was really cool because like apparently you can get like I think maybe even lightsabers and stuff in that Lego world now, and there's like stormtroopers and all, but I'm too low level, so I gotta check that out before it leaves. That was really fun. And then in the festival mode, the rock band mode, they have like the jam band mode where you can just go in and go in and just jam with people. They have like the whole Maz Eisley like little city. They have an Imperial shuttle. You can go inside the cantina, and you had all these people just jamming out in their Star Wars cosmetics with the cantina music that you could buy. I bought the cantina music too, and I also bought the like Ewok drum set that just instead of cymbals, it has all these trooper helmets. So you see me as Black Chrysanthemum as this massive Wookiee just slamming on these freaking trooper helmets. It is so great, man. I absolutely love it. So there like Fortnite is like a world you live in now. It's not even really a game anymore. And then the racing, there's that with the rocket racing or whatever it's called. I don't notice anything different. I know you can get cosmetics for like a Mandalorian inspired car, which is like that Naboo seal looking thing. You get like Darth Maul decals and stuff and different decals you could put on the cars, but there's no like gameplay added thing in there, at least this year, maybe next year. But yeah, so far this is the best year yet with their implementation of everything. They have like Lando skin. They have a backpack, like a back bling, which is basically Yoda in the backpack. They also have C-3PO in the backpack from Empire. So those are kind of enticing. I'm like, oh gosh, having that Yoda like everywhere you go on your back, moving around and talking, that is such a good idea.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's cool seeing like that sort of those sorts of things because to me, like if I would be getting more into like the Fortnite world and things like, that would entice me to spend I don't even know how much Fortnite prices are, 5, 10, $20, whatever. Like, people can shuck out like 10 to $20 like, if you it's not like a lot like, versus like just going and buying fast food or something. You could like get your favorite character's skin, like Star Wars character skin. So it's just cool getting like those sorts of things. Like I know back I don't know, several months ago, whenever there was another Fortnite Star Wars thing going on, or it might have been just characters at the store, but my cousin bought it was like the Geonosis Arena pack. It was like Obi-Wan, Anakin, Padme, and I think a super battle droid maybe, but it was like 4 characters for like $18 or $19 or whatever. And they were in their Geonosis Arena get up. So it's like
Oh.
it's cool just seeing Star Wars like incorporate those types of things into Fortnite just because it's nice like that fans can actually engage with it.
Yeah, my friend Ben from the Star Wars Underworld over there, founder of the Star Wars Underworld, he basically calls this season like Battlefront season because this is
Mm,
basically what Fortnite Battle Royale is now. It's like everybody in there is just playing a Star Wars character. So you just see everybody with E11 blasters and Wookiee bowcasters and
yep.
lightsabers just running around. Like this is the best version of Fortnite right now. The best version of Battlefront is in Fortnite right now.
Yep. I wish we could just copy and paste Fortnite and just have that be like totally separate just Star Wars thing. Like just I don't know, like I wish Star Wars would do that year round, like literally have
Yeah.
like Fortnite Star Wars seasons like every season or like have a Star Wars like, first season be whatever. Like, there's so much like Star Wars content. It's just,
Well, remember
you could do it.
remember that story we got a couple months ago? Like how they are developing like this massive like billion something
Yep.
dollar Disney initiative thing. So maybe that is what they're going for now. We got to settle with these like once a year, like month long or a couple week long like little stints where we get to just live our fantasies of Star Wars and Fortnite. But one day maybe we'll just be able to forever live there. That's
Yep.
the plan, it seems like. Moving over to another thing. So, like I said, this was Star Wars week, right? Like, boom. Wednesday, we had Bad Batch, we had new comics. Thursday, big day for those of you that are looking forward to the next celebration because tickets went on sale for Japan, which is happening next April. And I was really shocked by this because they actually released details on the first guest. So they're going strong out the gate, man. We got Anthony Daniels, we got Tamar Morrison, we have Doug Chang and Ashley Eckstein all going to Star Wars Celebration. So if you thought that I don't know if some of these people are going to show up, I mean, most of these people are from other parts of the world. Tamar Morrison, I don't know if he's based out of New Zealand or if he's based out of America, but all these other people are flying all the way from America to go to, or in
Yep.
case Anthony Daniels lives in England, I'm guessing, so he's really coming a long way. Um,
Yeah.
so there you go. I mean, that was my only thought is like, okay, this is happening in Japan. It's only for 3 days. Like, is this going to be like a smaller scale celebration? I mean, if you base it on the days, yeah, it's going to be smaller scale just based on the days, but I mean, at least the talent seems to be flying out there, and they have a press release where they're talking about big panels, and Hasbro already got confirmed to have a booth there. So this is looking like normal celebration to me, which gets me excited.
Well, here's something to think about when the guest list when the initial guests were posted. It's interesting because next year's celebration will be exactly a year, pretty much a year out from the Mando movie, and it just makes you wonder, like, are they having Tamara Morrison there because like the Mando movie is part of the Mandoverse? Like maybe he's there because he's going to be part of the Mando and Grogu stuff, like because he knows Boba, so like maybe he'll be part of that Mandoverse presence that they're going to have there, because they're going to have some sort of presence leading up to the movie, especially with like filming and stuff for the Mando movie coming soon, most likely, like those types of things. Like we're gonna get. I think the Mando and Grogu stuff is gonna have a really strong presence there next year, because that'll be like the big, like hurrah, like hey, Star Wars is coming back in theaters 1 year from this month or something, So and it's coming back with your favorite little green guy, like it'll be a big thing. So that's what I got thinking. It's like, man, maybe Tamara's going to be involved with that movie.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that, honestly. I mean, I just thought that, he's maybe closer proximity to Japan if he's in New
Yeah.
Zealand right now. So it's like it's easier get for him to go there in LA maybe, but or wherever in America. But yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I definitely think this is going to be the beginning of the road to the Daisy Ridley movie. Maybe we'll even like see stuff, or like we'll have a panel about, like, I could see them doing, because I think most of the things will be in production by then. The movies, right? James Mangold movie, all these things will definitely have scripts written by then at the very least, so they can maybe start talking more about like plot details. I would like to see a panel where it's like the future films, kind of like, I mean, I assume that they're going to do the same format that they did in London, where they have the opening ceremony panel where it's like bringing out all the people, everything come out in the next year. Boom. I can see that happening again. But yeah, definitely a more emphasis on, hey, here's the first look at the Mandalorian and Grogu, and there's about Boba Fett in the trailer somewhere or something like that. But yeah, super psyched. I'm going to be heading out there. I'm begrudgingly heading out there. It's not cheap. It is from New Jersey. It's about $2,000 something round trip, nonstop, 14 hours to get there from here. So I'm not looking forward to being crammed on the economy seat for that long. I'm gonna have to take some medicine, I guess, to make myself try to get some kind of sleep, because I didn't sleep on the plane at all going to London, and that was about almost 8 hours. So yeah, man, jet lag is gonna be freaking fun there. But I mean, it's gonna be cool to be in another country. I've talked to people that said, Japan should be on everybody's bucket list, essentially. Like, it's a place that you got to go at least once in your lifetime, because for us here, at least here on the podcast, us in the Western hemisphere, the Western culture, it is the farthest from. You feel probably almost on a different planet with the technology, but then going back in time and going to places like Kyoto, which I was researching, which have like the samurai castles still in existence, and the cherry blossoms, and like, wow, you feel like you are somewhere else entirely. So yeah, I'll be continually to update you guys over, because we are less than a year now on the happenings that are going to be going down in Celebration Japan.
Yeah, it'll be a good time. I'm
yeah.
looking forward to it.
Yeah. We also, I skipped over another game update. Apparently, Star Wars is coming to Fall Guys. I think like next week or the week later. You got Han Solo skins. You got Boba Fett skins, Stormtrooper skins. You got Sarlacc pits that you get sucked into. So that looks like a lot of fun stuff happening there. Next up, let's talk about the Phantom Menace. I know you said some stuff about it already, but what I want to talk about is, we said this in the pre-show, like different things that you might have picked up that you didn't see the first 30 times when you watched this movie.
Yeah, I mean, I think the big one for any Star Wars fans, I mean, like, I broke the news to you after we went and saw, me and my so for anyone listening, me and my cousin who's in his early 20s, he's never even been to a midnight premiere. So we went to the midnight premiere Thursday night, and it was crazy. It was packed. Several of the other theater rooms were packed. And the thing is, we've all seen Phantom Menace a million times by now. And it was just crazy seeing, we get to the end of the movie, end of the credits. And for anybody who doesn't know, you hear Vader's breathing at the end of the Phantom Menace credits. And I've never known that before. And I messaged it in our group chat and was like, hey, Vader's breathing is at the end of these credits. And it was like, it was just a surprise to me because my cousin like elbowed me. He was like, dude, he said, I've never even heard that before. I was like, I haven't either. And I've seen this. I saw the movie when it premiered in 99. So it's just crazy picking up on new little things like that when you rewatch these movies. And of course, like I said, it was just awesome seeing like the fan turnout for this entire, I would say almost like event.
Oh yeah, I mean, I would say most people that I seen in my theater were probably around my age, our age, right? Like
Yep.
early 30s, like that. Everybody was growing up with it, like in elementary school. I still remember going back, the anticipation after watching a trailer like on TV at the time when we didn't have YouTube. Like, oh my gosh, look at all those awesome images of Jedi, and he's cool. This guy with black tattoos, like horns on his head. What is going on with this dude? But yeah, as far as me, there's a moments I didn't realize before. I'd seen it with a coworker of mine, and at one point in Coruscant, they just get to Coruscant. Valorum and Palpatine meet them on the landing pad, and then we have Anakin that gets into the airspeeder with Jar Jar, and then they're taking off, and Jar Jar says something about, "Oh yeah, Padme is hot" or something like that. Did you ever catch that? Because I look over my buddy, I'm like, did he just say what he said? Because my friend laughed when he said, I was like, did he just say what I think he said? It's like, basically he's calling Padme hot.
Yeah, no, that's what I didn't know if it was just because I was watching this movie at midnight or something in a theater, but I was thinking the same thing. I was like, man, did Jar Jar acknowledge like how she looks? Because like, and I didn't even bring that up to my cousin, honestly, because I just thought I might have been hearing something, and I'm glad like you brought that up because I'm glad I'm not the only person that heard that either. Because like I was like, man, is like Jar Jar going like, yeah, woo, like he's agreeing with Anakin, and it's like interesting that that was something I'd never even ever noticed. I guess you don't pay like you pay attention to Jar Jar in that movie, but I guess I never really like locked in on Jar Jar dialogue really.
Yeah. Another little tiny detail was when Qui-Gon, after the pod race, is like making his dealings with Watto, and Watto's like, no, I'm not gonna give you the boy, and Qui-Gon's just like giving him a hard time. Like that the vista in the background, there's a Sith probe droid that just like whirls right by, and I never noticed that. It's like, damn, like Maul knew exactly where Qui-Gon was that whole time. He knew exactly when to strike. I thought that was interesting.
Oh yeah, I really liked that. I really also liked, being in a theater, you hear Darth Maul's music way more prevalently than you do watching on your own TV at home. Because I don't know about you, but that whole like like that Darth Maul music.
Yep.
I swear to you, I've only ever heard that in the final scene where he kills Qui-Gon. Before that, I've never heard that really in that movie. So like that was totally new to me. Like early on in the movie when Maul's hologram's appearing, you hear that. You hear Maul. You hear that music when Maul's on Naboo with the Nemodians.
Yep.
And I swear I've never heard that before on my own TV. Or the millions of times I've seen it, I've only ever heard it in the sequence during the Duel of the Fates. That's it.
Yeah, no, same thing. I was having that discussion with my coworker. I was like, did they just add this in with this edition or something? Because I have never heard it before. And maybe it was because you're in a stereo sound and you're in the theater. But yeah, I think most people are like probably like, wait, what? What's going on here? I never thought of Darth Maul's theme being that present before,
Mm-mm. No, never. The only time I've ever noticed it, like I said, was when, the most prevalent is when Qui-Gon's meditating behind the laser walls and Darth Maul's like pacing back and forth. And then when they're fighting, when Obi-Wan's like looking at him, you hear the music, it's loud then. But before that, I've never really heard it in that movie. I really haven't. And like you said, it was just odd. I mean, obviously it's placed well, so it's fine. It's not like it messes up the movie at all. It's just odd that I've never heard it before. Like, I mean, I literally just watched Phantom Menace like a month ago, and I don't remember hearing that at all. So it's just like you said, maybe it's because the theater sound is, much more drawn out and better for us as a listener in the theater versus just listening straight on from your TV at home. But it just, I don't know, the Maul Sith music really, really stuck out more than, I mean, that wasn't what I was expecting to be sticking out in this movie going into the theater. I really wasn't.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So we got to see something cool at the end of that, movie, and man, oh man, I freaking loved what I seen of the Acolyte. I know, like, there's been some images released for me specifically that I'm looking at, that Entertainment Weekly release, and I'm like, the
Yeah.
budget looks a little bit sketchy, maybe on this. What is this, Star Trek or is this Star Wars? But I really liked how that environment of whatever that cantina that forget the character's name already. I'll learn it. We're gonna have these characters memorized by heart when we're done watching
Is
Acolyte.
it May?
May, yes, thank you very much. May's walking in there, and it reminds me of The Force Awakens. It brought me back to The Force Awakens in Maz's Cantina. Like the theatrical-esque quality. Well, we were in a theater watching it, obviously, but it was like, it felt like it deserved to be on the big screen. You had so many background characters. There's a number of new species that I've never even seen before that were made for this show, which is also awesome to see. And it just, like, I love the ambiance. I love the intrigue that was happening and how brutal it was. Like, this girl is straight up trying to kill, like, several innocent people to get the attention of Master Indara. And this entire time, you don't know what's happening. You don't know why she's going after her or what's going on. But it basically was like the Matrix. And it was funny because as I left the theater, there was like the one person that was going to come in to take care of everything. But the woman, she was like, yeah, what'd you think of? She worked there. She was like, what do you think of the Acolyte? I was like, yeah, it felt like the Matrix a lot. It was really neat. She's like, yeah, it was like Star Wars and the Matrix had a baby. And I was like, you hit the nail right on the head there, because you have, Trinity basically doing all this kung fu like the Matrix, and it was awesome. I mean, the fight choreography, yeah, my coworker was saying, yeah, did it have to be that over the top with all the flipping of the girl with the little dagger with May? It's like, no, it didn't, but it looked really cool. And I'll give it that.
Yeah, I mean, I can echo pretty much all those thoughts. Like, I think the whole sequence was cool. Like you said, it was intriguing. It was interesting characters, like you said, species you've never seen before. Also, to me, more and more with May, I think over under odds, like, I think it's like 99.5% chance she's getting taken out in the second episode of the show, because it's just like, we've seen so much of her character, and like so many of the environments are so similar that we've seen her in. It just makes me feel like she might be the Jedi that gets taken out. So like, it's gonna be interesting just to see where they take her, and then like to see where this scene comes off of, because I'm thinking, so Mando, when we got the Mando scene, that was when he was walking into the bar, but there was still the scenes before that. So that means maybe this scene is probably like 10 minutes into the first episode or something, maybe 5-10 minutes into the first episode. So maybe like place it there. But yeah, like overall, I just thought the scene was a good, interesting scene. And it was a nice way, like, I feel like the audience around here, anyways, like the people were interested in it, because it was like, oh wow, that's the next Star Wars show coming out. Like I literally heard someone telling someone that, like I heard it was just like some guy probably in his 40s or whatever told some woman, and he was like, oh yeah, that's the next Star Wars show coming out here in a few weeks, and she was like, oh, that looks interesting, and like that same lady, because it was when we were walking out of the theater, like, from the seats. She was like, isn't that the lady from the Matrix? And it's like everybody's recognizing her. So it's like it's just funny. It's like they should have just named her Master Trinity at this point. But but yeah, overall I think it got a really good pop, and it's nice to see, that so many people got to like experience that this weekend, like we got, we had a great box office turnout, like 15 million overall worldwide, and it's just like having that big of a box office turnout on an old movie is awesome because you get to see all these people getting out to the movie theaters to go see it. Like, like I was telling you before we started the show, like roughly that means 15 million, stretched out, $10 a ticket, $8 a ticket. You're talking like 1.6 million fans probably went out and saw Phantom Menace and that Acolyte preview this weekend. So it's like, it's cool because like the hardcore fans are out checking it out, but also like casual fans. Like I said, I saw that couple, and the woman just had no clue what Star Wars thing that was they were witnessing. And it's just cool getting to see these fans that got to come out and like, show Phantom Menace love, get rewarded, and like get a little preview like this. And I think this could be a strategy moving forward for Star Wars. Like, why not? I don't know, for another series like Ahsoka season 2 or something. Why not release whatever movie for Revenge of the Sith and give us 3 minutes of Ahsoka or something? Like, maybe do something like that. Like, that could be a nice little marketing ploy for Disney, for Star Wars and Lucasfilm, but also it rewards the fans because it basically like, hey, you pay your $8 or $9 and you get to see your first look at the next show coming out. So like, I really, really like that strategy, and I hope they continue to use it moving forward with, future shows, really.
Yeah, I mean, certainly. And a quick aside here, because I do want to touch on this before I forget. Just overall, like, May the 4th was such a big success of everything that Lucasfilm planned for, right? I mean, you look at May the 4th just in its own, right? You got Tales of the Empire, and you got a new trailer for just a brand new Star Wars series that has some really cool imagery, which we're going to dive into. And then the week leading up, you got new comics. You got the ending of the Bad Batch. You have, like, other things coming out, like the Phantom Menace, right? Like, they delivered, and I hope they just didn't overproduce, because now I think everybody's going to expect Star Wars news, a new Star Wars series, a new Star Wars trailer, right? Like, they set themselves up to be like, okay, this is a lot. Now let's see if they're going to deliver every year like this.
I'll be honest. I mean, I'm saying it already. It's May 5th today, but I'm saying it next year on this podcast, next year, a year from now on Sunday, if we don't have like at least 80% of the news and info and clips and things we've gotten, I'll call, like, the Star Wars week kind of a bust. Like, they have to live up to at least like 75-80% of what we got. Like, they have to do that.
No, I don't think they will.
I don't think they will either, though.
Celebration is going to be 2 weeks before May the 4th.
Oh yeah.
That's so that means one reason why.
So that means we're going to go back to old school of, hey guys, just go out and buy all these products on May the 4th, and that'll be like,
it might be. I think it's just because this was an exception year where we don't have Celebration. We're gonna have San Diego Comic-Con. We're gonna have New York Comic-Con. We're gonna have, I think, even D23 maybe. Ben, you probably know that more than I do.
Yeah, D23. That's usually end of August or first week of September. So we will get those sorts of things at least. Okay. Which even this year alone, I mean, D23, I expect that's probably the first look at Skeleton Crew, if I would guess, because it's after the Acolyte cycle. It'll be after Outlaws. So it's likely, I mean, even that'll be our next look. That'll be our look at Skeleton Crew. I mean, that show doesn't even come out until Christmas time. So it's like, we're going to have a long blank in Star Wars info from pretty much the end of Acolyte and Outlaws to December.
So let's take a closer, like, reaction. We're not going to really do like a whole deep dive because we'll be here for another hour and a half if we decide to do that. But What were your thoughts on the Acolyte trailer? Did you get any rise out of it? Do you think there was anything cool in this trailer? Do you think it was more or less the same of what we've seen before? Just overall.
I do think. All right, so overall, I think the trailer was intriguing, just like the clip. Just kind of like Milton said earlier. I do think, though, one consistent thing that is kind of concerning with the series for me is kind of what you alluded to about the magazine shoots, Chris, is like I feel like the costumes and like I know this is like definitely movie TV fan nitpicking, but I feel like the costumes look almost too new, where it's just like it's not taking away from it. It's taking away from it if you like look for it, but it's like it looks like the costumes aren't like worn out or worn in like it looks like you went and got them off a rack and put them on and then did the shoot versus like I don't know them like putting some makeup on them, making them look more dusty and like something just because it's like I don't know a lot of the shots I've noticed have looked a little too new for my taste. Like I just feel like they could have done a little more maybe that way. Like it could just be the shots we've seen so far.
No,
So like
no.
I can't go like that far out on a limb, but maybe it's like it's just the placement of the shots or something.
That's the
Um,
iconography of the High Republic, man. Like the High Republic
mm,
is the golden age, and like you look at all the concept art, you look at all the art of that's out for the High Republic. That's meant to be like that, and I
oh,
think
I
because it's so jarring for us to get around. Like Star Wars is used to being gritty, and you get the grit and
mm,
grime on everything that we see in the original trilogy. Not so much of the prequels, but this is like ultra prequels now. This is 100 years
yeah,
before the prequels. They apparently are done with denial at this point, so they're back to the status quo of like, hey, we are, just living life here in Coruscant, you know, doing really well for ourselves. We're taking care of our clothing like the way it is. But I get it, man. I totally
yeah.
know. I'm trying to
Like,
justify it myself, like rationalize it. Like, yeah, it
but
is kind of weird looking, but that's what
yeah,
I think.
but setting that aside, because like that's something I'm sure that'll be something we talk about almost every week in the Acolyte when the show's on or something, because it'll be some new thing about a costume. But setting the costume designs aside, I think the trailer was good enough. Like I don't think it was like I think it looks good. I would say like on a scale of like a rating scale, it's like a solid 8. Just because it like it moved the needle. Like John Campy always says, does it get you more excited for what's coming out? And like I would say yes. So that means it did its job. Like it got me more excited for it, got me more interested in the show. Just because I was a little skeptical on certain aspects of it, and it looks good. It looks intriguing. They also they also did a good job with this trailer in terms of for like the general people, Chris, that aren't us like in the know. Like, they literally said someone's killing Jedi. Like that'll like get, your parents perked up like, oh man, a murder mystery Jedi show. Okay, I can get on board with that. So I like that they really just laid it out there for like the people that are more like general, where it'll like kind of hook them in. So I think that was a good way to do things. So yeah, that's overall kind of like my initial impressions. Just the overview of the trailer. I think it was good, did its job to get people more excited, and it did its job to get kind of like more of the lay person on board with the hook of the murder mystery.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I like how we get exactly what the story is. Like you said, they're very concise. Like, so he's been killing Jedi. Okay, that's all we need to know. Like, it's this mystery the way they look at it, but they're investigating. The two things that stood out to me, I'll focus on the first one here, is they're literally reciting the Sith code, dude. The one guy, the smuggler guy, don't know his name yet. Know he's a smuggler though, because it was on Lucasfilm databanks, StarWarsDatabanks.com. Peace is a lie. Peace is a lie is going back to Knights of the Republic. It might even go back before that, but I know that is ingrained from my brain doing like the dialogue choices of having to cite that code in the game. So that is awesome because that's the first time I think in any live action that they've actually been talking about the Sith code. Without a doubt,
Yeah,
we're dealing with the Sith here.
yeah. I mean,
And
that's the only time. I mean, live action wise, that's the only time we've heard the Sith code. The only other really reference of it is like, we've had some bits in like Clone Wars and things. Like I know there was a little after the Acolyte trailer, there was like a clip of Sam Witwer going around saying like, people might not be able to recognize it. And some of the clips from Clone Wars, like when they go to Mortis and stuff, some of like the mumbling and the noises you hear are actually like just blunted versions of him reciting the Sith code. Because like he said, he told Dave, "Hey, let's like include it," and Dave was like, "Why?" And Sam Witwer was like, "Well, let's just make it canon, so let's just throw it in there." And Dave was just like, "Okay, let's do it," and that they threw it in there. So we've only had it kind of somewhat referenced in animation, but not in live action at all, like from Palpatine or Vader or Dooku or anybody. So it's cool, like getting this in live action. And again, Sith references, potentially Old Republic Sith references. And it just makes you wonder, all right, are we heading in the direction? Because like, we heard it from like Jeff Snyder a month ago or so, like David Harewood from Supergirl, who played Martian Manhunter. It just makes you wonder, he has a part, like he has a small part. It just makes you wonder, are we going to get a Sith reveal at the end of this season? Like someone, like a big character, like everybody's pointing to Darth Tenebris, but it's like he lines up for this time period. And it's like, I don't know, to me, it just like the nitpicking Star Wars fan in my brain, like we can't, like conceivably we can't have a show called The Acolyte with all these like red lightsaber swinging people and not have a Sith Lord. Like you have to have a Sith Lord. Like you hear quiet. I mean, we just watched it in The Phantom Menace. Like you literally hear Mace Windu talk about it at the end. He's like, there's always two of them, yada, yada, yada. Like, so it really makes me think we have to have some type of overarching Sith Lord, and maybe we get the Darth Tenebris reference where it's like, boom, that kind of like canonizes your Plagueis stuff even further because it's Plagueis' master. So like maybe we get that, but it'll just be like the end of the series, for example, because like you're having these old Republic like Sith references. Are they really just gonna stick to these new, like these kind of like not New Republic but like High Republic characters when you're referencing the Old Republic? So it's just like, it just makes you think, like you said, Chris, there has to be kind of a Sith behind this stuff. Like it's just, I don't know.
And dude, we get Vernestra Rowe having lines. I gotta say, I love the voice. I had no idea what she would sound like, but I love how she sounds grizzled. I mean, right at this point, she's over 100 years old, and she's seen a lot. She's fought through these Nile Wars, or whatever we're going to call them in the end. But, the idea that she feels like there's something bigger out there, right? She's been around the block. She can kind of sense when things are bubbling up, so that is cool that she is definitely seeming to be like a major character. And the big pop for me is that the reveal at the end of whatever this Darksider is. I'm hoping he's a Sith. Of course, we can't ever say, oh, they're Sith, they have a red lightsaber. We've seen it in a sequel trilogy, the Knights of Ren, Kylo Ren, just a dark side user. But immediately I looked at him like, what is this, another Knight of Ren? Because at least in the comics, they made a precedent saying that the Knights of Ren have been around for generations. So there is a point that this could be a Knight of Ren, and I think that would be interesting because it would cement this in the lore. Like, these guys have been around, they keep coming back and forth and all this sort of thing. But I like the mask. I like the mask design. I have a feeling he's definitely a Sith because, or whoever, it could be a girl or whatever it is, taking on like 6 or 7 Jedi at once. Like,
Yeah,
that is ridiculous, Like, how the hell is this guy this powerful? So that led me to believe it's Tenebris. Because I think you were telling me, like, the Tenebris could be in the show. Maybe that's him. I don't know.
Yeah, like, that's my thing with the Tenebris thing. Like, I think there's a chance he could be in it just because it's like, I don't know, you have Tenebris, he's around the time period. He's kind of like indirectly canon because he's kind of been referenced on certain stuff here and there, like in like the Rise book stuff that's kind of canon. Like his name's at least in canon, so it's just like I know in like the Legend stuff he's a Bith character, so that's the only thing that's interesting about it. So like they could obviously change it because we don't see him anywhere else in canon. Like they could easily change that. So So it just makes you wonder if they do that. And then also, the thing is, like, I don't know. I just feel like from the characters we've seen so far, from like the bad guy perspective, like none of them scream like Sith Lord material yet. Anyways, like they haven't shown it yet. Like, like Amanda Stenberg, like we know she's like pretty much the lead. Like, I don't know. Like to me, like from what I've seen so far from her, it's like, is that going to be the Sith Lord of this series? I don't know. I don't know if I see that. So it just makes me wonder what they have in store. And it's like this whole Sith thing. Like we've seen it in look at like the prequels. Palpatine's already grooming Dooku with, or like Palpatine's, it's always replacing your apprentice with someone else. Like you got Dooku, you got Ventress. I mean, look, Dooku's training Ventress, even in like the Tartakovsky stuff. Dooku's training Ventress kind of in secret. You have Grievous. You have Palpatine trying to replace Anakin, Dooku with Anakin. All these things. I mean, even Vader trying to get Luke to join to take out Palpatine. So the thing is, there's always like one Sith Lord, and then there's like usually a couple under him that are like kind of squabbling and trying to take him out or something. So it just makes me think. It makes me really think we're probably going to get that. And then the thing is, on a stretch, I mean, who knows? They might just go all out and just totally go almost fan service and just make Plagueis older and just make Plagueis be the villain for all we know. Like, just because, like, I could see him doing that, but then it's like maybe instead of just being on the nose with Plagueis, you go with Tenebrous because it's like, still not there just yet. Like it's Tenebrous, but it's, you know what I mean? It's kind of a good mediary.
Yeah,
so like,
yeah.
That's kind of my thinking on that.
And then if it's Tenebrous, I could go several seasons with this show. And I do hope this show. I from what I've seen, the amount of work that they're putting into the show, it's a new era. They're not going to be able to reuse any of these sets, these productions. I'm thinking this has to go for at least 3 seasons. Or if you're looking at Andor, it has to go at least like 2 seasons. Andor's like got a lot of cool stuff, and it's only getting 2 seasons. So I figure at least another season of this, most likely. But then you would have, future stories that could build these characters into maybe being Plague, and one of these characters maybe being Plagueis or something like that down the road. The interesting thing here, this is our last story for tonight pertaining to the Acolyte, is we did get key art. Here we go on the screen. So they are playing around. I don't know if it was in a trailer or something else. I seen on a report that, yeah, you are. I think you're correct in saying that Amanda Stenberg will be the main character of the Acolyte, and it seems like it's a very personal story about what side she's going to be on. Because if we take this poster into consideration, you got her with the mask and without the mask. So it's almost like good versus bad, kind of, to me. It's like she used to be a Jedi. We see the flashback of her like a little Jedi Padawan with the other guy there from Squid Games. And
Master Soul.
Master Soul, yeah. But then we see her with the mask on, and she's, trying to do harm to people in the clip we've seen. So it's like, okay, does she get pulled back and get redeemed? Redemption, as we were talking about, Bad Batch is a very, very big theme of Star Wars, obviously. Or does she keep going down her dark path? So
I could see like us getting kind of like a pseudo reverse Luke Yoda situation where it's like maybe like Master Soul like warns her about the dark path, yada yada yada. She takes him out, and like she has to like face the consequences, and like she eventually leads to her demise like later. Maybe like it's kind of like the bad version of like Luke and Yoda, where it's like, she, it's just like, because you see that trope in so many movies and shows where it's like the good guy mentor gets taken out by the person that's turning bad, and then they learn the lesson eventually when it's too late or something. Like I could see maybe something like that happening. Just because I think his character specifically doesn't make it through this series. Like I really don't see that happening. But yeah, like I think that's kind of where it's going though. I really think, like you said, it's gonna be kind of like, is she going good or is she going bad? And like also what's her why? Like why what's pulling her to the dark side? Is it just basic, basic like Sith power, rule the galaxy, blah blah blah? Or is it like a personal thing, like
Yeah.
something along those lines?
I
Because
yeah.
yeah,
I
I mean,
ooh man. Sorry, I keep
like,
cutting
like
off.
oh no, no, you're fine. Like just because like my thought process actually right now is kind of on like the Barris stuff from Tales. Like maybe like what if Amanda Stenberg's character is kind of like, I don't know, like maybe resentful about the Jedi because they took her when she was a kid or something. Like maybe they go along that route where it's like my life would have been different if the Jedi wouldn't have taken me, so I'm gonna like turn on them or something.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's gonna be very complex because we have this third party here, these like cultist looking people for lack of a better term, like this character that's in this poster front and center at the bottom, doing something with her hands, like some kind of like magic thing, and I think she's gonna be the middleman for whoever the Sith are, and I think May is gonna be maybe talking to this woman, this cultist leader. I think her name is also like referred to as Mother or something like that, which immediately, as I said before, reminds me of the Path of the Open Hand, which is the beginning of the High Republic for Phase Two, which ultimately led into the Nile, which are the Viking pirates and all that. I think she might be connected to those guys down the line. And I think we'll get that reveal. Um, so I think we're gonna see like a lot of really cool, like kind of like insider stuff where we're not gonna see a Sith until the very end, but we have these intermediaries that know about the Sith that are gonna be, saying some cryptic lines here and there throughout the series about the other powers that be in the galaxy and all this sort of thing, where we're gonna get these illusions through this character maybe that seems to be up to something. But yeah, as I'm looking at this poster, this key art, I just realized that Vanessa Rowe has wielding her purple bladed lightsaber, which is just awesome because I've heard a lot of reports recently where it has come out where she's actually going to be able to. You're going to see her using a light whip. If you don't know what a
Mm,
light whip is, that's her like trademark weapon in the High Republic. The light whips are looked down upon by the Jedi. Like you're not really supposed to use those because those symbolize the dark side. Because a lot of Sith use like light whips in the past, but she's really gotten good at using it in phase three. In fact, like we've been seeing her using it. So it's gonna be like I'm telling you, man, it's gonna be like kind of like the Darth Maul effect, like when people were amazed, like when the other side of his blade ignites, and it's like, oh my gosh, he's got a double saber. I can see the same thing that they're gonna go for with the shock and awe of like, oh my gosh, a lightsaber that's like an Indiana Jones whip. What the hell, you know?
yep. Oh yeah, I could see something like that for sure. I mean, it's gonna be interesting how they utilize that character, and like even to an extent, it just like you said with the other character that's kind of like the intermediary, the mother character. It's just like I could like the more we talk about this, I could see like the show going in so many directions with these characters because it's like you have the intermediary. I mean, who knows? Maybe we like go through this season and you have like Vanessa Rowe doing stuff, you have Master Soul doing stuff, you have May doing stuff, and all these characters doing things. Like maybe you get to the end, maybe it's like Master Soul's getting ready to like get taken out, and then Amanda Stenberg, like pulls off and decides not to kill him, and then maybe that's when the Sith comes out and is like, "Oh yeah, you're too weak to kill your master." Blah blah blah. Boom, takes him out. Like I think we're gonna get something like that. The more you talked about that, like saying like that mother character might be like an intermediary type, like it makes sense though because like normally there's always that intermediary between like your kind of heroes and main characters and then like the big bad. So it makes a lot of sense and I'm so interested to see where these characters go. Um, just because like I don't know, like this is the one show where I mean none of us, even the people like you that have really like dove into the higher public stuff, like you can't really put a piece on it or like where they're going with this story.
Yeah, no, this is their story about how the Sith rise and about the Jedi became dogmatic and just really just just couldn't see what was in front of him. A character that has been revealed on this poster that I don't believe was referred to or seen anywhere else is a character by the Wookiee over there on the left side of this thing. Looks an awful lot like an Ewok to me, man. I don't know about you, but
Yeah, just imagine that imagery, and you walk with a lightsaber.
Kel
But
Naka. Kel Naka is the Wookiee's name, played by Eunice Guantanamo.
yeah, I love that he's the one playing the Wookiees. Yeah, I don't know. That's an interesting character, and I don't know. I think more than anything with this series too, it's just going to be interesting just to see like that Ewok looking character, this Kalnaka character, like all these like non-humanoid characters that are like Force users and stuff. It's going to be interesting just to see how they move around, how they like, are in action, etc. Like, I'm just so intrigued to see, especially now that we saw the little 3-minute clip we saw in the theaters. Like, that puts it in perspective. Like, think about this, Chris. I know you and me were theorizing like weeks ago about the Wookiee Jedi. Like, now that we saw how the choreography looks from the fighting, like, are we gonna see like this Wookiee go like major like Kung Fu, just like wild, like this huge Wookiee in like hand-to-hand combat or something? So it makes me wonder what they're gonna do with some of these action sequences with this show after we saw that little clip.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I just realized it now that dark side character is on the poster too.
Oh yeah.
You got a better. The helmet is very scary. I gotta say, it's like a very that the way that thing is like crafted to where it looks like this like cynical smile thing. Like it's pretty terrifying, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, it would be, see, like, and we don't know who that is. Like, there's no names for them yet. And like you said, we don't know if it's male or female. But, like, man, if that is David Harewood's character, like, his voice is so suited to be a villain. Like, it's like perfect villain voice. Like, anybody who wants to hear him, like, just look at Martian Manhunter,
Yep.
Supergirl. And, like, I think he would be perfect for that. So, like, maybe that's his character for all we know. Like I don't know. There's a lot we don't know about this series, and it's going to be interesting getting them answered. And I just love the fact, excuse me, gosh, we've been talking a while. I love the fact that it's a two-parter. And another thing to note for our audience and listeners, I was looking up the date, and these shows are normally Wednesday, and this is actually a Tuesday this comes out. So it's either, it makes me think they might go back to the 9 p.m. Ahsoka timeline, like when Ahsoka was getting released in the evenings. Like maybe we get a 9 o'clock release for the Acolyte, since they're gonna, do this two-parter and make it special. Like, I don't know if they'll do a 3 a.m. Tuesday release. Maybe it's Tuesday night.
I'm pretty sure it's locked in for Tuesdays going forward at 9 p.m. I mean, for a new property especially, they're going to want the buzz to be all over social media at like 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock every week, because it's a new property and it's going to have all new characters. So, if they just put this out there in the middle of the night, you're going to have people trickling in. They want to have that wave of hype that's just permeating social media to get more people to watch. So I'm happy about this. I mean, there wasn't one time that I got up super, super early for Bad Batch. Well, actually, no, I'm wrong. I think the finale I got up at 4:30 in the morning to watch it, but it just makes things easier for me as a content creator to like not have to be up at ridiculous, miles in the morning. Not that I have to do that. Not even content creation. If in the back of my head I wake up at a certain time in the middle of the night, usually I would just go back to sleep. But if I know there's like new Star Wars to watch, I'll be like, oh, but I could just take a nap later. I'm kind of crazy when it comes to that. It's like if I have the on-demand nature of entertainment is a great thing, but it's also a bad thing for me.
Yep, that's exactly how I am. Like, I've done that before with some of this stuff for Star Wars, where it's like, oh man, like I wake up and it's like 2:55 or something, and I'm like, well, I might as well just, in 5 minutes is a new episode, so I might as well just stay up and watch it till 3:30 and then go back to bed. So it's like I've had that same experience before. And also another thing too to point out about this, as we're talking about kind of the premiere, one thing I would really love from this show is we got it with Mando. We we already knew what Ahsoka generally was because it was basically like a pseudo Rebels sequel. Like Andor had its 3-parter. Like I would love for Acolyte, like this is like big wish list stuff. Like, I mean, this is like bad fan expectation stuff because it probably won't happen until the finale. But like, give us a Mando season 1 pop. Boom, the internet exploded because Grogu was on the scene. Why not end the second episode with Darth Tenebris boom popping out, and then you don't see him till the end of the series or something? Like, maybe that.
Oh my gosh!
Like do that. Like boom, pop off. Just like really get the ball rolling. Because like you said, Chris, this is a new property. So like, why not go for it? Swing for the fences like Mando season 1 did by dropping literally Baby Yoda, and give us drop us a Darth Tenebris at the end of the first or at the end of the second episode, and then don't go back to him at all until literally the finale. Like in the end of the final 5 minutes of the finale, like something like that. Because I just want Acolyte to I mean, that's what I want from any of these Star Wars shows in general. Like, swing for the fences on the opening premiere. I mean, look at even Bad Batch. Bad Batch did it good. They did the Order 66 stuff. That was a good hit. Like, you saw that trending. Like, give us something that'll swing for the fences and, like, really get people on board. Because you're going to have to just, do that. Like, the hardcore fans will be there, but, give us something that'll, just really pop off.
Yeah, I think that would do it. You know, you just... Here's Darth Tenebris. Here's a just a Sith in general that just wastes 3 or 4 Jedi, right? Like maybe the first scene we see somebody dying, but by the end of the second episode, a whole crew of the 5 Jedi that are investigating all die at the end, and you see this guy just standing over him with his red lightsaber. I think that's all you would need to get people intrigued enough to be like, okay, I'm gonna tune in next week to see who the heck this guy is.
Yep. I think there's a lot of possibilities with it.
Yeah, it's great having them. I love having characters with masks because whether or not you think it's a cheap thrill or something, but I like having that mystery box element to it of, ooh, we got to tune in every week to see who this is going to be, how it unfolds. And this is a mystery. We haven't really had, if you just look at the kind of style this show's going to be, right? Compared to everything else, Mandalorian just action adventure, Andor spy thriller, Ahsoka lone samurai travels the galaxy. This is straight up mystery thriller territory where people a serial killer in Star Wars is going around killing people. How are we going to fight them? You know, that's something new to Star Wars. We have not seen anything quite like that. So even from that perspective, this is already going to be new and fresh just from that vantage point, let alone a new time period.
Well, here's something to think about too. On the murder mystery side of things, think about it from our most basic network television murder mystery stuff. Look at Law and Order SVU. It's been around for, it feels like 100 years now. But that show, in the shows, there's always a murderer and then someone else that's accused of being the murderer. And then in the final 5 minutes, there's a twist and it's actually some other big murder. That's every episode of Law and Order ever, basically. And I feel like this may be no different. Maybe you're gonna have Amanda Stenberg's character doing stuff, maybe the mother character doing stuff, but then by the end of it you find out I think we're gonna have to look for clues throughout the series. But I think I think there'll be moments in the series where it's not clear if Amanda Stenberg's character is the one that has done certain things. And for example, what if there was a character that goes missing off screen and we don't know if it's Amanda's character that did it or someone else. And we get to the end of the finale, boom, and there's someone else. I think that's a natural way some of these murder mysteries go. It's there's always as Qui-Gon says, there's always a bigger fish. There's always someone next. And I think this is going to be no different. Like, I feel like we're going to get either at the end of the second episode or the end of the finale. I think we're going to get a actual Sith Lord reveal.
I sure as heck hope so. One last thing I want to point out in this key image here, this key art, is the amazing visual of Jedi Vectors. Yes, I said it. Jedi Vectors, ships that originally apparently were concept designs to be something in, I think, Revenge of the Sith, are the ships we see, like characters like Stellan Geos and Elzar Mann and Bel Zettifar and Loden Greatstorm using in the books. It's great to actually see this stuff make the transition to live action. This is, the predecessors to the Eta class and the Delta class Jedi starfighters. So these things are going to be really sweet seeing them in live action. Maybe we'll see some good space battles, I would imagine. So every Star Wars has space battles. It looks like we got Coruscant in the background. We know Coruscant's coming. We have the Jedi Temple, but yeah, I thought that's a cool little detail at least.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a cool detail when you have those sorts of things. And I always love, like you said, when they incorporate some of the concept art into other properties. I mean, we have it in this instant with these fighters, and then even for all of our Rebels fans, like that episode Attack on Chopper Base, that one. Like the assassin droid and then Zeb, those were like the concept arts for Chewie and C-3PO. So like it's cool when you see some of the concept arts get used in other things, just get like reworked and reused in Star Wars. And like this is just another instance of that.
Heck yeah. Well, as you said before, we've been talking a lot tonight. This is going to go on to be a 3-hour episode. I jokingly said that was going to be 3 hours tonight, but I really didn't think we would get there. But alas, here we are at 3 hours. We're talking about video games. We're talking about series. We're talking a little about movies. We're talking about it all because why not? It's a big week. It was Star Wars week. It's Revenge of the Fifth for everybody that's participating. Pour one out to your emperor. But yeah, it has been one heck of a week. And, we'll look back at 2024 and be like, yeah, remember that time they had all that stuff that came out? Yeah, we had a 3-hour podcast. It was great. So, hopefully next year, Lucasfilm will save at least one thing that they won't reveal at Celebration, and we'll have another good day ahead of us all. And at the very least, maybe release, like, if we have Visions Volume 3 or maybe Tales of Bounty Hunters comes out or something like that. But, yeah, such good discussions tonight, man. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, it was a great time coming on here talking about all of this great Star Wars stuff, whether it be the movies or upcoming content, and just talking with different people about Star Wars. That's like one of the most fun parts about it, is really just getting on social media and having some really good discussions, theorizing, reviewing things. This is kind of your one-stop shop for all of our Star Wars topics. So yeah, if anybody would like to follow me, they can find me on Twitter and Instagram at RealBenMaynard. I'm always talking Star Wars as of late and fitness stuff when it comes to Instagram. So yeah, I mean, I'm always there to chat.
Yeah, there you go. As far as my channel, as I said, there's a couple updates that I've put up here. I put up my review of Young Jedi Adventures Free Comic Book Day, as well as the Free Comic Book Day edition of Star Wars. In addition to my review of the Phantom Menace anniversary special that came out on Wednesday. I'm also, as I said, part of Delayed Replays, Steven Schinder's episode where we make up a story, what we think would happen in a droid story. Fun podcast. It's an improv podcast where from time to time I'm a guest on there and we just basically spitball random ideas of what we think a movie would be that didn't come out. It was an idea spawned from all the delays of COVID where movies kept getting delayed left and right, and we just acted like they came out on time, and we're just like, yeah, that was a great movie because all this stuff happened, and we manufacture everything on the spot. So it's a good creative way. It's a really fun way of going about it. So go ahead, support him, subscribe and all that good stuff over there. As I say, every Wednesday, my other podcast I'm a part of is over on the Star Wars Underworld channel, so make sure you subscribe over there. But yes, that show is called The Tractor Beam, where we break down the latest in the Star Wars comics that given day that they released that Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern. My good buddy Matthew Neugebauer and I, the Canadian and an American, team up to talk about Star Wars comics. It's a good old time over there, so please, we would be delighted if you would join us over there. I also updated my blog with a review of the Phantom Menace Anniversary Edition, so I got my feet wet with my first comic book written review, not an audio, not a visual, but a written review over there as well. So yeah, there's a lot of things to keep up over here on the YouTube channel of Star Raptor, as well as you can find me, of course, on Twitter. You can find me building skateboards, skateboarding in different places, talking about video games, whole bunch of stuff. So yeah, a lot of things to be had there. But yeah, we'll be back next week, the usual time of 7 p.m. Eastern. We'll be talking about the 3 episodes revolving around Morgan Elsbeth and Tales of the Empire. So until then, thanks for all the viewers, to Alex, to Skywalker Academy, to Small Bento, to Aaron Daly, to everybody that was in there. I think I got everybody. That's gonna do it for Milton, who had to leave a little bit earlier, for Ben, for Chris, aka Star Raptor. That's gonna do it for us. Thank you for watching, and may the Force be with you always in transmission.